What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 2KD Chapter 36 Green Bull. I naturally want to give the red hair a face, 4th shift kneeling and begging for flowers and evaluation. Noisy. With the burning of the floor, a wisp of burnt smell gradually permeated the entire conference room. Obviously, after learning that the dolphin was dead, Marshal Marine, Akainu has had some gaffes and can't contain his power overflowing. Certainly, actually not only Marshal Marine, Akainu. At this time, Kizaru's condescending expression had solidified, and he didn't seem to have thought that the tea-dolphin would die in Jin's hands. The dark horse was about to drink water, but the cup shattered with force on his hand, sprinkling water on his hands and clothes. For a while, the entire conference room fell into silence. On the other end of the phone bug, after the report was over, Vernal didn't dare to say anything, and could only tremble all over, holding the phone bug carefully. Okay, I get it. I do not know how long it has been. Akainu took a deep breath and said solemnly, I will send someone to West Blue, you all get ready. The voice did not fall. Akainu hung up the phone worm neatly. Quiet. Even if you hang up the phone bug, whether it is Akainu or Kizaru, the dark horse still has some unacceptable. You must know that over the years, Marine's high-end combat power is really few, no, more precisely, except for Zephyr who left Marine, almost none. Even Marine's former Admiral Aokiji just quit Marine. And compared to Marine, the pirates are more tragic. Roger, Whitebeard, Ace, the arrested Golden Lion, Kaido of the Beasts who fell into the underground magma, Charlotte Linlin and so on. Alright now, Marine was slapped in the face on Yanzan Jin, Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral and Substitute Admiral actually smashed into West Blue, which undoubtedly made Akainu, Kizaru, and the Dark Horse unable to accept. Impossible. It didn't take long for the Dark Horse to wipe the watermarks on his palm, and said solemnly, even if you can't win with the strength of the Tea-Dolphin, you can't be killed by Jin. Besides, there are 3 Marine's top warships to help. It's so scary. Kizaru rubbed his head and said, it doesn't make sense. Is Jin's strength so strong? If so strong and join forces with Kaido, maybe Beast's pirates will have a chance to turn defeat into victory. Advertisement. There must be something strange about this matter. I will send someone to investigate it. Akainu seemed to have thought of something, and said with a heavy tone, no matter what, someone will pay the price for the death of the Tea-Dolphin, and Jin must pay for it with blood. Certainly, Akainu still didn't say a word, that is, the moment he learned that the Tea-Dolphin was killed, he thought of a very absurd possibility, that is, as the beast Kaido imagined, Jin will be the legendary ancestor of the sea. Luo Lei was resurrected. It does not rule out the possibility of Jin hiding his strength. After all, the Lunaria are not fuel-efficient lamps either. But, no matter what the possibility is, he will send someone to investigate and by the way, conduct an autopsy on the Tea-Dolphin. Therefore, he didn't want to say anything until he checked it out, lest the people be panicked, or maybe there was another secret, and everything was hard to say. Okay, that's it for today's meeting. I will let Ang Mu withdraw from Wanokuni and die as substitute admiral. I don't want to die another admiral. After all, Wanokuna's high-end combat power should not be underestimated. Even if I go, it may not be easy to come back alive. The next moment, Akainu waved his hand a little tiredly, and said meaningfully, the situation in the sea is becoming more and more complex and changeable, and our future tasks may be very difficult. So hard? Kizaru pouted his mouth, sighed, and walked out without looking back. I will increase the monitoring of the major pirate groups. Dark Horse slowly got up with a silent expression, and said meaningfully, I will not participate in the death of West Blue Tea-Dolphin. Suppress this news for the time being. Akainu hesitated for a moment, then said helplessly, at least we can't announce it until we are 100% sure that it is the Tea-Dolphin killed by Jin. Clear. The Dark Horse nodded and left the conference room. Call. After Dark Horse and Kizaru both left, Akainu let out a breath, and then walked slowly to the window of the conference room, looking up at the endless sea, and muttered to himself, I really have become a marshal in an incredible era. Even if I let my horse come over. Well, I will fight back well with everyone. No matter who, At the same moment, Aramaki, one of the 3 Admiral Marines, after entering Wanokuni alone. First go to the rabbit donor prison, and after defeating Quinn and the others of Beast's pirates with full blood, he absorbed the nutrients from them. Then, Araki, who was full of self-confidence, asked Marine to drive the warship over and took Luffy's reward to the Flower City, saying that he wanted to take off the Straw Hat Luffy's head by himself. Advertisement pity. Self-confidence is very high, but the reality is very slap in the face. In the case that the Straw Hat Pirates, Kid Pirates, and Heart Pirates did not do anything. Aramaki and the vassals of the Kazuki family, Yamato and Momonosuke, played a half 5.5, and were very friendly to help Momonosuke with his heat breath, which almost capsized in the gutter. Damn. UP****** me off. Once again hit by the heat, Huang Emu's face couldn't be hung up, and the moment his mind moved, he stimulated the ability of Sensen's fruit and turned into a towering tree. He wanted to be real. Really, is the tiger not showing his power when he is a sick cat Admiral Law? He wants to use the tree to penetrate the defective product of Kaido, Momonosuke, from the beginning to the end, absorbing all the nutrients. However, just when the wild animal husbandry wanted to make a move, without any warning, countless dark clouds suddenly appeared in the sky of Wanokuni, with wisps of black thunder and lightning intertwined. Suddenly, like a thunderstorm, black thunder and lightning fell from the sky and slammed into the towering tree incarnated by the green cow. This is... Perceiving his somewhat paralyzed body, Araki was a little stunned. He didn't expect red hair pirates to come to the waters near Wanokuni. Uncomfortable. Things have developed so far. In fact, the self-confidence of the wild animal husband is not much. Now the red hair comes, and the last bit of self-confidence is gone. That's it, my luxuriant fruits represent nature. Red hair represents face, so I naturally want to give red hair a face. Chapter 37 The Psychological Shadow of Red Hair. After reluctantly finding a reason, after convincing myself. Green Bull didn't want to be ashamed. He turned into a human shape as soon as his mind moved. He stretched out his hand in the direction of Wanokuna's coastal waters. The meaning of his expression was very simple, that is, he did not mean to fight with red hair pirates. Immediately afterwards, Yamato, Momonosuke, and the Kazuki family retainers who were on alert were ignored, and they left Wanokuni in a flash. First beat Marine Admiral away. See this scene. The peach-colored dragon incarnation of Momonosuke was stunned for a moment, and immediately showed an excited and happy expression. It was not easy. He repulsed Admiral of Naval Headquarters with his own strength, and next, as Wanokuna's general, he ruled Wanokuni with more confidence. Yeah, even the Marine Admiral was repelled by us. Ha ha ha, we still have the strength to protect ourselves, it's really cool. The tense bodies of the retainers of the Kazuki family slackened, and they glanced at each other in unison, and they could see the relieved smiles in their eyes. Momonosuke is growing so fast, let them be full of expectations and hope for the future of Wanokuni. Call. Yamato let out a sigh of relief and collapsed to the ground. Of course she sensed the red-haired conqueror's haki, although she didn't know why the red-hair pirates would intervene, but Aramaki's evacuation from Wanokuni was a fortune in misfortune. Foreseeable, Wanokuni will usher in a period of peaceful development. At the same time, boss idiot, stop releasing conqueror's haki. Your conqueror's haki was so strong that it made the newcomer Dujun foam at the mouth and coma. Really, can you say hello in advance when conqueror's haki breaks out in the future? Let the newcomers be a little mentally prepared. Advertisement off the coast of Wanokuni, on the deck of the Red Force, the cadres of the red hair pirates, sensing the red-haired Shanks' unannounced release of Conqueror's haki, began to whine. Humph, however, the red-haired Shanks didn't care so much, looked up at Wanokuni, and said coldly, "It's really despicable, an Admiral of Marine actually came to target the Sprouts, who just changed the history of pirates, I think so very out of style." After saying this, the scene of meeting Luffy for the first time, the scene of Luffy cutting his face, the scene of breaking his arm to save Luffy, and the scene of Kazuki Oden and his childhood Momonosuke, he was screen. But, there seems to be some gaps in the picture. In a trance, another giant Guanyin statue hundreds of meters high with 1,000 arms appeared in Shanks' mind. Damn. Boom. Shanks patted his head violently, showing an extremely painful expression. In the past, it only appeared when I was dreaming. Recently, it seems to be appearing more and more frequently. When I was picked up on the island of Kamiya, what happened? And the legendary ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, isn't he dead? How can you leave such a deep psychological shadow on yourself? Alright. At the beginning, the redhead actually didn't know what the giant Guanyin looked like. But, the more he learned, especially about the blank year, the more inconceivable he became. The giant Avalokitesvara in his mind was actually the great move of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea. The only certainty, perhaps the strongest conqueror's haki awakened by him is related to the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei. Do not, more specifically, it is related to the Battle of Kamiya. No, when you have time, you must ask Rayleigh, this time, no matter what, let him tell me the truth of everything. After a few seconds, Shanks regained his senses and muttered to himself, in the original Battle of Kamiya Island, there must have been things that I didn't know about. This so-called green bull is really blinding Logia. Compared with the legendary Wanokuni ninja god, the fruit is one in the sky and the other in the ground. It's just a pity, now Wanokuni and even the entire sea, no one remembers the god of ninja. Boss, what are you muttering about there? Seeing the red-haired boss constantly muttering to himself, the cadres of red-hair pirates on the deck had some doubts. The current red-haired boss is just a spiritual split in general. Advertisement. Fine. Red-haired Shanks rubbed his head, picked up a pot of wine and gulped a few gulps. He didn't think about it anymore, and said freely, let's get ready to leave. What? After hearing this, the cadre of red-hair pirates lackey Lou took a bite of the chicken leg and said incredulously, Boss Red-Hair, Luffy has become a very good pirate, shouldn't we take a look at him? The current Luffy has become one of the 4 emperors, he has grown too fast, he is indeed the person I like. Mangshita scratched his cheek, showing a very humane expression, facing Luffy just a compliment. Usopp hesitated for a moment before sighing, I'm not ready to meet Usopp yet. Kid is also in Wanokuni. Lim Jones said in a well-dressed and fashionable manner, this kid won't be in Wanokuni on purpose, just wait and trouble us. There is no need to go to Wanokuni anymore. The red-haired Shanks took a sigh of relief and said in an astonishing tone, It's almost time for us to snatch that, the great secret treasure that started the era of the great pirates. What? Boss idiot, have you decided yet? Are we going to snatch that legendary One Piece too? The next moment, accompanied by exclamations, the cadres of red-hair pirates all showed surprised expressions. Obviously, they did not expect that the red-haired boss, who has been idle all the time, would also do something to the legendary treasure. Ben Beckman took a cigar and took a sip. After exhaling a puff of white smoke, he slowly nodded at the red hair. Guru. Redhead Shanks smiled and took another gulp of wine. It's time to end. Chapter 38 Luffy's Confidence, Robin's Conjecture. Wanokuni, the capital of flowers. The Straw Hat Pirates, Brook, Chopper, Frankie and Kazuki Hiyori are still cheering and celebrating. Luffy, Sanji, Jinbei, Zoro, Kid, Luo and others are sitting on the grass outside the city very leisurely, enjoying this rare peaceful time. At this stage, after defeating Kaido of the Beasts and Charlotte Linlin, one of the four emperors, the mountain that was pressing on Wanokuni is gone. Next, it is time for Wanokuni to develop itself. Ha ha ha. Luffy was lying on the grass, looking up at the clear sky, and said with a chuckle, one of the three admirals of Marine has left. There is no chance for us to make a shot. Sanji said with a cigarette in his mouth. After the Beast's pirates were defeated, Wanokuni still has the ability to defend himself. Next to him, Zoro grinned and said, Peach is still pretty good. He can fight Marine Admiral back and forth. I didn't expect that man to come to Wanokuni too. Is he really a strong hockey? However, Jinbei showed a lingering expression. He had long heard that the red hair had the strongest conqueror's hockey. Hearing this sentence, Luffy half squinted his eyes, but didn't say anything. He touched his straw hat, and a nostalgic face came to his mind. I'll do red hair pirates if he dares to come. At this time, the corner of Kid's mouth was slightly raised, and he said with some resentment, just to pull the red hair down from the position of the four emperors. I want to do it too. It's okay not to say. When he said that, Luo was also a little unhappy. Even Buggy has become a four emperors, and it really has some blows. All right. After teaming up with Kid to defeat Big Mom, their bounty is exactly the same as Luffy's. The results of it? The two of them didn't ascend, but Buggy succeeded in ascending to become the four emperors. This invisibly made Luo and Kid have a sense of frustration. They beat Charlotte Linlin exhaustedly. But Buggy formed a cross-union, come on strong. Became the Emperor of the Sea. What? The voice did not fall. Luffy stood up abruptly, showing a shocked expression, and said, what happened? Isn't Buggy an idiot? An idiot can become a four emperors? Luffy, don't you read newspapers? Luo picked up a newspaper in his hand and said, you better take a good look first. What? Luffy touched his straw hat a little embarrassedly, took the newspaper and read it. As for the content of the newspaper, a brand new organization, Cross Guild, appeared. Buggy's head is in the very center, with Hawkeye and Crocodile on the left and right. Advertisement. This idiot Buggy is so powerful. After a brief glance, Luffy couldn't help complaining, how can Laozi and Hawkeye look like Buggy's subordinates? Impossible. Zoro frowned, and hurried over. He knew how terrible Hawkeye was. How could he become Buggy's subordinate? Wasn't he joking? What exactly happened? After a few seconds, Zoro also made an incredible sound. Maybe Buggy has a way to make Crocodile and Hawkeye obedient, then he can indeed be called the Four Emperors, Kid said meaningfully. That's right. Luo nodded and added, this Guild of the Cross seems to have wanted Marine, and they still have a few brushes. Correct. When he said this, he seemed to have thought of something. Luo threw a rubbing of the historical text of the road sign to Kid and said, you are also entitled to it. It's really boring to hide it. Is this the text of Kaido Master's signpost history? Kid took the rubbing and said coldly, although you gave me the rubbing, but, out of Wanokuni, in order to compete for One Piece, I will not be merciful. I won't show mercy either. Luo shrugged and said slowly, when you find the man with burns, you can proceed to the last step. What? A man with burns? Listening to the conversation between Luo and Kid, Luffy showed a puzzled expression. Seeing that Luffy didn't seem to know, Luo wisely shut up, showing an expression of wanting to laugh but holding back. Ha ha ha, Luffy, don't you know? That's better for us. Gone. I'll go to Changying Port first, ready to set sail. It's not over yet. Kid left very quickly. I'm leaving too. Luo smiled lightly, and a few dodged away from the grass. What? I won't say anything if I don't say it. Anyway, I will definitely find the legendary treasure and become the Pirate King. Luffy said cursingly, and lay on the grass again, inexplicably lost in thought. The other side. Deep underground in Wanokuni, Robin was looking at a towering tree and fell into inexplicable contemplation. After the defeat of the Beast's pirates, Kazuki Sukiyaki took Robin and Luo through the glass tunnel through the seabed to the depths of Wanokuni, where they found the third piece of historical text. Next, just find one more piece and go to Raftel. After getting the rubbing of the third historical text, Luo happily left to find Luffy and Kid, leaving only Robin and Kazuki Sukiyaki here. Robin, let's go up. Seeing Robin's reluctance to leave, Kazuki Sukiyaki smiled and couldn't help saying, Wanokuna's ninja god is dead, you don't need to care so much, and there is no need to understand the blank year, history. Advertisement, is that man strong? Robin didn't care so much, but instead asked a question curiously. In fact, after a year of research into the historical gap, Robin is full of curiosity about the legendary ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei. Strong. Kazuki Sukiyaki hesitated for a moment, and then said with a sense of feeling. The man can make the whole Wanokuni covered with towering trees with a single tap of his hands, and now most of the trees in Wanokuni are made by him using ninjutsu. Then does he know the ancient weapon Pluto sleeping deep in the ground? Robin asked curiously. With his strength, can't he wake up the ancient weapon Pluton? Perhaps dismissive of Pluton. Kazuki Sukiyaki showed a bitter expression and said, that's a man who is arrogant, unscrupulous, and can do whatever he wants. I also dared to assume the position of General Wanokuni only after I was sure that he died. What if he's not dead yet? The next moment, Robin said something amazing. Before Kaido fell into the underground magma, he sent Jin, one of the 3 plagues, to West Blue to resurrect him. Impossible. Dead is dead, how can it be resurrected? He's definitely dead. If he hadn't died, he would have returned to Wanokuni long ago and took out everything he had lost. Kaido was just looking for a reason for Jin to escape and leave a fire for the beast's pirates. The voice did not fall. Kazuki Sukiyaki, who was still calm at first. He suddenly became excited, a look of horror flashed in his eyes, and he made an incoherent voice. He is very clear, if the man really didn't die, or was resurrected. By his character, the Kazuki family who stole the fruits of that man's victory must die horribly. Maybe. Robin's face was not very good and shook his head, and didn't want to say more. She also doesn't know whether the man is dead or not. If he dies and is resurrected, the consequences may be serious. Not to mention the Kazuki family, I am afraid that even the Straw Hat Pirates, Kid Pirates, and Heart Pirates will suffer. Maybe I'm overthinking it, let's go. Robin sighed and left without looking back. How can it be resurrected? Kazuki Sukiyaki took a deep breath, suppressed the throbbing of the infighting, and followed suit with a pretense of calm. Chapter 39. Goal. Destroy Marineford at the same time. At the edge of Wanokuni, I saw a flower growing behind Aramaki, one of the 3 Admiral Marines, hanging in the air with his arms crossed, overlooking the vast forest of Wanokuni. This time he came to Wanokuni, in addition to wanting to deal with the Straw Hat Luffy, he just wanted to see, is the wood style of Luo Lei, the legendary god of ninjas, really that magical? That's right, after entering Marine, he also saw some dusty information. He also has some curiosity about the legendary ninja god, Luo Lei's wood style. After all, he doesn't think his forest fruit is weaker than wood style. As we all know, the forest is the source of life that can stand side by side with the sea. So, he who eats the fruit is nature itself. Not only can you create a variety of different plants and control the growth of plants at will, turning them into the form you want. You can also turn your body into plants, including flowers that allow you to fly, and vines that rob others of nutrients and water. Result, after entering Wanokuni, through the control and perception of the towering trees that have grown for decades through the power of the fruit, he discovered an astonishing fact that those towering trees were not only alive, but also seemed to have remnants of chakra, which is unique to ninjas. Terrified, that's kind of scary, god of ninja, Luo Lei has been dead for over 40 years. The trees that were randomly created in Wanokuni at the beginning still have residual energy. How huge is the chakra ability in the body? Anyway, Aramaki thinks he can't do it. Also, with a slap of both hands, Wanokuni can be covered by towering trees, and he is even more unable to do such a terrifying afforestation ability. Is wood style really stronger than sensen fruit? Oramu shook his head helplessly and muttered to himself, that's not necessarily true. To be honest, he really hopes to be in the same era as Luo Lei, so that wood style and sensen fruit can compete. In the Battle of Kamiya, Rox was killed by Garp and Roger together, but how did this Luo Lei die? The next moment, Aramaki showed a puzzled expression again. It stands to reason that with Luo Lei's vitality, he would not easy to kill, right? Have a headache? In fact, Aramaki also privately asked Garp, Sengoku, Kong, who participated in the Battle of Kamiya. But, every time, these 3 old guys smiled bitterly, yawned and stopped talking, which made Araki's heart feel as uncomfortable as cat's claws. However, what Aramaki didn't know was, advertisement. At that time, 13 top-level combat powers in the sea went to besiege Luo Lei. However, they were suppressed by Luo Lei. Therefore, not only Garp, Sengoku, Kong, but also the dead Roger, Whitebeard, John and others never mentioned these disgraceful and humiliating things. In addition, it involves the secret weapon of the world government. It is even more impossible to say. This also led to people who knew a little about the history of the blank year. They all knew that the ancestors of the sea were very powerful. Bolu, sudden. Just when the wild animal husbandry was still feeling the sense, the phone bug on his body rang. Hey, Huang Mu picked up the phone bug and said, who is it? Is there something wrong? Aramaki, are you still in Wanokuni? Akainu's depressing and irritable command voice came from the other end of the phone bug. If you are still in Wanokuni, please evacuate for me immediately. Mr. Sakazuki. Hearing that there was something wrong with Akainu's tone, Aramaki frowned and said, Red Hair Pirates has also arrived in the waters where Wanokuni is. To be on the safe side, I have already evacuated. Okay, That's fine. On the other end of the phone bug, Akainu breathed a sigh of relief involuntarily, and said, don't worry about red hair pirates, you hurry back to naval headquarters. What happened? Oromu said subconsciously. The plus dies at West Blue. On the other end of the phone bug, Akainu was silent for a while, and then said in a very heavy voice, because I don't know if it was killed by Jin or not, the news was suppressed by naval headquarters. What? T-Pig dead. Jin of the Beast's pirates is a bereaved dog, how could he have killed the T-Dolphin? Boom. The voice did not fall. Wild Mew was so surprised that he almost threw the phone bug in his hand. Did you make a mistake? A naval headquarters vice admiral and substitute admiral. He actually died in West Blue. I don't know who killed it. Is there a mistake? Needless to say, there must be something strange about this. I've already sent someone to West Blue to check. On the other end of the phone bug, Akainu took a deep breath and said coldly, once we find out, we Marine will take quick action. Understood. Aware of the seriousness of the matter, Araki nodded and said, I'll rush back to naval headquarters immediately. Boo, boo, it's not over yet. From the other end of the phone bug came the sound of hanging up the phone bug. A troubled autumn. Advertisement. Aramaki put away the phone bug and showed a helpless expression. He finally knew why Sakazuki was irritable in the first place. A naval headquarters vice admiral and backup admiral died in West Blue. Once it spread, the whole sea would shake. Right at this time, the new 4 emperors are in the limelight. In addition, Entei Sabo, who was in the limelight during the World Summit, also became famous throughout the sea. Foreseeable. Once the news of the T-Dolphin's death came out, it will cause a very serious blow to the prestige and momentum of Marine, and even the world government, and affect the morale of countless Marine soldiers. At the same moment, on a deserted island in the Calm Belt, Lord Luo Lei is resurrected, he finally has the confidence. The cheeks under Jin's mask flashed with excitement, especially when he thought of the naval headquarters vice admiral who was killed by him, he couldn't help laughing secretly. This T-Dolphin is completely self-inflicted, I just don't know how Marine will react when he learns that the T-Dolphin is dead. And not far away, Luo Lei looked at the newspapers in his hand slowly, with a smile on his cheeks. Through these days, he finally figured out the basic situation of the sea. In addition to Jin's dictation, he almost understood what happened in the sea more than 40 years after his death. Actually, similar to the original, just one more blank year of history. And some legends about the god of ninja, the ancestors of the sea known only by people with high-end combat power or status. As expected of the world government, Luo Lei dropped the newspaper in his hand and chuckled, Jin, get ready, let's go to Marineford. What? After hearing this, Jin, who was still smirking there, couldn't help but exclaimed. Going to Marineford? What is this for? Doesn't Mr. Luo Lei know that Marine has moved naval headquarters to the original Marine G1 branch of New World? If I'm not mistaken, the news of the T-Dolphin's death has been suppressed. A coldness flashed in Luo Lei's teasing eyes, and said, the world government has erased everything about me, then I will take it back. So, before I go to New World, first we'll give Marine another big gift. Destroy Marineford. Anyway, this resurrection only follows 3 principles, that is, Laozi can do what he wants, crescent moon is in the sky, Laozi can do what he wants, crescent moon is in the sky, or Laozi can do what he wants, crescent moon is in the sky. Chapter 40. Frightened Sengoku. Accompanied by 3 unbridled voices. Luo Lei's body was full of violent fluctuations, and an Azu-like smile flashed on his cheeks. Have nothing to say. In the battle of the Valley of the Gods, I was caught in the neutral position by Yimu and gave it to Yin. He really has nothing to say. After all, it's hard to strike iron. After all, his strength is not strong enough to do whatever he wants. Now that the template of the peak Senju Hashirama has been merged, and the template of the peak Motherland has been obtained, if you can't do what you want, just do what you want, and you are afraid to do things, then you might as well find a piece of tofu and kill it. Because resurrection is useless. This kind of look and smile. See this scene. Jin suppressed the throbbing in his heart and shuddered, feeling like crying in his heart. I thought that when he was in Beast's Pirates, Kaido was moody enough, but now it seems that he is still too young. The Luo Lei in front of him is the real moody, and he does things completely unreasonable. That's it. Destroy Marineford and destroy it. Jin can imagine what the expressions of Marine and the world government will be after Marine's former headquarters, Marineford, is destroyed. What kind of waves will the sea make? The only bad news. The news of Lord Luo Lei's resurrection could not be concealed. Originally, according to Jin's plan, he wanted to quietly take Master Luo Lei back to Wanokuni. To Wanokuni's Momonosuke, Yamato, Straw Hat Pirates, Kid Pirates, Heart Pirates, the retainers of the Kazuki family, etc. A huge shock. By the way, let's see if you can save Kaido-sama who fell into the underground magma. It's good now. Lord Luo Lei doesn't seem to want to keep a low profile. Killing the T-Dolphin first, and then destroying the naval headquarters, this is a rhythm that will turn the world upside down. It's just, is Kaido-sama holding on to the magma underground? Would you like to ask Mr. Luo Lei for instructions? Master Luo Lei, Master Kaido will be okay. Soon, after a period of psychological struggle, Jin bit the bullet and said something. Don't worry, with the physical fitness of Kaido and Charlotte Linlin, you won't die easily in the underground magma. Hearing this sentence, Luo Lei's mouth twitched slightly and added in a low voice, even if they die, I will find a way to revive them. Yes, Lord Luo Lei. The cheeks under Jin's mask lit up with joy, and the last bit of worry in his heart disappeared. Ding! Congratulations to the host, congratulations to the host, it perfectly fits the character of the Motherland, and the system specially rewards 3% of the experience. Advertisement. Ding! I hope host will continue to work hard, follow his heart, not be bound, and do whatever he wants. At the same moment, following Luo Lei's voice, a series of prompts sounded in Luo Lei's mind. Listening to Luo Lei was stunned. Did not expect. He really didn't expect. I just simply follow my heart and want to get back everything I lost. When the system is good, it directly sends warmth and rewards 3% of the experience. This is completely unexpected, right? Let the integration of the Peak Motherland template directly unlock from 49% to 52%. As unlock fusion increases, a warm current poured into Luo Lei's body again and began to transform his body. In less than 3 minutes, Luo Lei felt that his abilities seemed to be getting stronger again, so he gave an unfamiliar command, System, I want to take a look at my latest attribute panel. Ding! Host's property panel is being generated. Ding! The property panel is generated. Dash. Host. Luo Lei. Age. 17 years old. Chakra attributes. Fire, Wind, Thunder, Earth, Water, Yin, Yang. Abilities. First Hokage template of Senju Hashirama, Peak State Unlock Fusion 100%, Marine 6 Styles Grandmaster, Observation Haki, Advanced, Armament Haki, Advanced, Motherlander template, Peak State Unlock Fusion 52%. Constitution. 26,630, 10 points for ordinary people. Spirit. 4,750. Strength. 36,000. One punch is about 32,990 tons. Speed. 1550, 1450-1500 ms. Heat rays. 119500 approximately 121,000 degrees Celsius. The number of times to extract the template, 0. Dash. As expected, even if it is only unlocked and merged by 3%, there will be a big improvement in attributes such as physique, spirit, strength, and speed. I glanced at my property panel roughly. Luo Lei smiled with satisfaction, the template of the Motherland still did not disappoint him, and strived to unlock it as soon as possible. Now, time to do the right thing. Marine former headquarters, Marineford. After the headquarters was transferred to the G1 branch of New World, the status of this former headquarters dropped a lot. Advertisement. But, it is still responsible for maintaining peace and order in the first half of the Grand Line. At this time, inside an office at the top of the fortress, Sengoku, who has taken a back seat and became Naval Headquarters Inspector General, is processing documents here. The T-Dolphin was actually killed by Jin. Looking at the latest secret call in hand. Boom. Sengoku stood up all of a sudden, his face darkened instantly, patted the table, and scolded in a low voice, what on earth is Sakazuki doing? This kind of news was actually suppressed, and even the world government didn't report it. Anger. Extreme anger. When he was a marshal, Marine's high-end combat power was basically not killed by pirates. Alright now, after this guy Akainu took office, a vice admiral from the headquarters and backup admiral died directly. If it spreads out, let alone Marine, it is the world government, and even the entire sea will be shaken. How could the T-Dolphin be killed by Jin? After a while, Sengoku barely suppressed the anger in his heart and muttered to himself, even if Jin's strength is at its peak, it shouldn't be able to help the T-Dolphin, at most 55. But, now he was killed. Could it be that Jin really resurrected the legendary guy in West Blue? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Sengoku shook his head, directly killing the idea in the cradle. Oh no. But, just at this time, with the sound of a knock on the door, a Marine Rear Admiral hurriedly pushed in and said in a hurried tone, Mr. Sengoku, Jin is flying towards our Marine fortress. Sengoku was stunned for a moment, then his face brightened, and he said, I really want to do whatever I want. Naval Headquarters is investigating the death of the T-Dolphin, and he actually came to the door. It's just courting death. The next moment, almost without any hesitation, Sengoku urged the subconscious observation haki to feel it. Result. I don't know. As soon as he felt Sengoku's eyes, there was a trace of tension and disbelief in his eyes. Chapter 41 Marineford divided into two, one more kneeling for flowers and evaluation. Result. I don't know. As soon as he felt Sengoku's eyes, there was a trace of tension and disbelief in his eyes. How is this possible? In addition to the fire disaster, Ember. Why is there such a person's breath? Sengoku's expression froze all of a sudden, even though more than 40 years had passed. But, he will never forget the breath of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, and it has been deeply engraved into his soul, so he can be sure after a little perception now. That must be the breath of the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei. No, absolutely impossible. I personally witnessed Luo Lei being killed by the world government's ultimate move, how could he be resurrected? Could it be that the T-Dolphin was killed by Luo Lei? Quote. The next moment, Sengoku's body trembled for a while, and with one hand on the desk, he stood up. A rare expression of panic appeared on some old cheeks, and thoughts kept flashing in his mind. Because, in his heart, suddenly there is a bad guess. That is the fire disaster, Ember. Luo Lei was really resurrected in West Blue, and that's why the T-Dolphin was killed. Only in this way can the cause and effect of everything be explained. Wait a minute. A few seconds later, Sengoku seemed to have thought of something, and roared, besides Jin, is there another man in a black tight-fitting combat uniform with red layered armor on the outside? What? Yes. The Marine's rear admiral was also taken aback by Sengoku's abnormal state, nodded, and said in a serious manner, we have never met that person, and there is no reward, he should be a nobody and nothing to talk about. Ruined. Boom. After hearing this, Sengoku just felt his head go black and slumped down in his chair. Really resurrected, although I don't know what method Jin used. But, it's true, and it's hitting Marineford now. Not good. Seems to be aware of the seriousness of the matter. Sengoku looked panicked, almost without any hesitation, and left his office in a flash. Only the confused Marine Rear Admiral was left. Because, even now, he still hasn't reacted, and he can't figure out why Sengoku Inspector General is showing a terrified expression, and some really don't understand. Advertisement. At the same moment, right in front of Marineford Fortress. Swish, swish. Two piercing sounds resounded. Luo Lei and Jin's bodies were suspended in midair one after the other. This is Marineford in Marine. Jin hovered behind Luo Lei, flapped his wings, looked at the huge fortress in front of him, and sighed inexplicably. Even if it's no longer naval headquarters, I can still feel an invisible suffocation and oppression. Sense. As one of the three plagues, Jin has never seen the world. But, there is still a sense of awe and fear in the face of Marineford, a marine superfortress. After all, this is the former naval headquarters. There have also been mega events like the Summit War that have rippled across the sea. Is it really memorable? Luo Lei glanced at the majestic marine fortress, stretched his waist, and said indifferently, I actually destroyed Marineford, but I didn't expect that after so many years, Marine was repaired again, and it was even higher and bigger. More mighty hockey. Yes. The corners of Jin's mouth twitched slightly, and suddenly he didn't feel anything. People are more popular than dead people. Marineford is full of fear for any pirate. Even the current 4 emperors wouldn't come here easily, but, for Lord Luo Lei, it was like going home, not only without any fear, but even a little nostalgic. Stop. What do you want to do? Jin, how dare you come to Marineford? The speed is easy to capture, otherwise don't blame us for being polite. Quote. At this time, the Marines above the fortress also found Luo Lei and Jin suspended in midair, and they all aimed their guns and countless black cannons at Luo Lei and Jin. Quite a kind. If you dare to take a step forward, you will be shot down. Ha ha. Luo Lei glanced at naval headquarters indifferently, and flew forward several dozen meters in a flash. Attack. Attack. Knock him down from the sky. See this scene. A Marine's lieutenant commander seemed to be unable to bear it, and shouted loudly. No, don't do it at all. The words have not spoken. Then came the urgent voice of Sengoku. However, it's too late. The words of that lieutenant commander just fell. Hundreds of Marine soldiers on the fortress pulled the trigger in unison. Advertisement. Boom, 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 accompanied by a sound of breaking through the air. Countless bullets flew towards Luo Lei like a gust of wind and rain, trying to beat him into a sieve. Clang, clang. To the astonishment of the countless Marine soldiers in the fortress, when the bullets hit Luo Lei, it was like hitting some steel, making a metallic crashing sound, and all of them fell from the air to the ground. Sengoku, you saw that, you guys did it first, right? Luo Lei turned his eyes and looked at Sengoku, who was rushing over, his eyes flashing red, and said indifferently, now I'm going to fight back. Do not. If you have something to say, don't do it first. After hearing this, Sengoku, who had just arrived, didn't have time to think too much, and screamed in panic. All right, although there is still some luck in my heart. But, when he really saw Luo Lei, Sengoku couldn't help but set off a huge wave in his heart. That legendary man was really resurrected. It is good. Luo Lei folded his arms around his chest, nodded and said, then. I won't clap my hands this time. Call. Sengoku breathed a sigh of relief. As long as Luo Lei doesn't clap his hands and perform ninjutsu, then everything is fine. Pity. Only happy for a few seconds. Sengoku saw a scene that he will never forget. Swish. I saw a cracking sound. Luo Lei's eyes shot a red-hot gaze. From top to bottom at a lightning-fast speed, it bombarded Marineford's fortress fiercely. Laugh. Laugh. The next moment, with a burning sound. Subsequently, under the watchful eyes of countless people who are horrified to ultimate. The incomparably sturdy marine fortress, like paper, was cut in half by the hot gaze from top to bottom. Maybe it's too powerful. Even the town behind Marineford was divided, completely in two. Chapter 42 Sengoku. Seraph Attack. The hot sight that shoots from the eyes. Severing the huge Marineford in the middle with destructive force. When it came into contact with the seawater boiled in an instant, and countless white mists appeared. Shock. Extremely shocking. In an instant, the whole Marineford fell into absolute silence. All of the Marines, including the current Naval Headquarters Inspector General Sengoku, were staring blankly, with a look of extreme disbelief on their cheeks. How is this possible? Is it possible to shoot lasers in the eyes? How can such terrifying power be released? Such a terrifying ability. Or what a human can have. In general, aren't the humanoid weapons of the world government able to shoot lasers? Clap Lala. After being cut from the middle by the heat vision, countless seawater began to pour back madly, spreading in along the gap. FK. See this scene. Jin couldn't help widening his eyes, and let out an exclamation. Nemas, Lord Luo Lei just arrived at Naval Headquarters, and cut Marineford from the middle without saying a word. This is too violent, isn't it? How could he be so strong? How come? The Beast's pirates definitely don't have this number one character. Where did Jin come from? Quote. Before long, with one after another panicked uproar, Marineford's Marines responded, standing there with a look of horror, staring at Marineford with a huge crack in the middle. Maybe if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, they would never believe someone could cut Naval Headquarters in half. It's not wood style. What kind of ability is this? I don't know if it's intentional or not. Sengoku stood right on the edge of the crack. Sensing the residual temperature of the incision, nothing but horror is horror. If observation hockey didn't perceive it wrongly, that crimson laser has at least a temperature of tens of thousands of degrees Celsius. No, it is a temperature of 100,000 degrees Celsius. Is this the power that the eyes can burst? As for Luo Lei's act of cutting Marineford down the middle, Sengoku was not much surprised. After all, Luo Lei's behavior. He had already experienced it more than 40 years ago. Unscrupulous, do whatever they want, and do things not according to common sense. And judging from the current situation, that man is not only resurrected, but his abilities have become weird. Thinking of this, Sengoku's heart became more and more desperate and collapsed. 40 years ago, the 13 top fighters on the sea were all suppressed and beaten by Luo Lei. If the world government had not used a secret weapon, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Okay now, killed and resurrected, is this still a calf? Advertisement. Of course, if Marine's high-end combat power is still there, it may not be without the power of the first battle, but the problem is that Marineford only has one high-end combat power, and the rest go to the G1 Naval Headquarters in New World. Things are getting bigger. Inspector Sengoku is here, don't worry. However, just at this time, when a Marine's rear admiral saw Sengoku who had reached the fortress, he immediately shuddered and made an excited sound. Inspector Sengoku will definitely arrest this guy in front of him. That's right, Inspector Sengoku is the former Marshal of Marine, isn't he? Quote. After the Marine's rear admiral spoke, the nearby Marine soldiers, despite the cold sweat on their foreheads. But, the expression became firm and confident, and they all looked at Luo Lei with cold eyes. Have nothing to say. If Garp is Marine's hero, then Sengoku is Marine's needle for the sea, standing in the living fossil of Marine, and is deeply admired and loved by countless Marines. Even if he is no longer Marine's primary division, he is just an inspector general, but, as long as he stands there, countless Marines can be filled with the confidence to win. Listen to these words. A few strands of weakness appeared on Sengoku's old cheeks. I really admire him so much. The guy in front of him, at first glance, is full of blood and resurrected. Even at his peak, he was powerless, not to mention that he is no longer at his peak. Too difficult. How can you still encounter such a difficult problem when you retire? The next moment, Sengoku sighed, looked at Luo Lei like that, and said bitterly, I didn't expect that what Kaido of the Beast said was true, and Jin brought you back to life. Ha ha. A cold look flashed in Luo Lei's eyes, and he said in an unquestionable tone, I want to get back what I lost over the years. You still haven't changed at all. Hearing this unbridled voice, Sengoku shook his head, hesitated for a moment, and then said slowly, can you spare these Marine soldiers, they are innocent. Innocent. Luo Lei glanced at Sengoku disdainfully, and said sarcastically, you deserve to be innocent with me. Don't you know that no snowflake is innocent during an avalanche? Everything is just the strong prey on the weak. While listening to the dialogue between Luo Lei and Sengoku, quiet. The whole Marineford was dead silent. The countless Marine soldiers on the scene were completely dumbfounded, with unbelievable expressions on their cheeks. What's the situation? The Sengoku Inspector General, the former Marshal of Marine, was so frightened that he lost the confidence and arrogance he used to speak, only weak and humble. Say something bad. Haven't they seen such a low-pitched Sengoku? Who is that young man? Is it so scary? At this moment, the Marine soldiers, who were still full of confidence, all showed trembling eyes, and even their bodies began to tremble slightly. They are not fools and idiots. Sengoku Inspector General has such a big reaction, it is not simple at first glance. Advertisement. Okay. Since that's the case, a wisp of determination flashed in Sengoku's eyes, he took off the Marine Justice cloak and coat, stroked his pale hair, and said, then let me see how strong you are now. Quote. The next moment, accompanied by a terrifying aura. In the public eye, a dazzling golden light flashed on Sengoku's body, and the whole person rose against the wind, turning into a golden giant with an astonishing momentum. All to hear. After entering the Buddha form, Sengoku took a deep breath and gave a loud command. You can withdraw as far as you can. That's right. What? Are you really going to withdraw? This won't come true. Quote. Originally, after seeing Sengoku entering the form of a big Buddha, many Marine soldiers had soaring confidence and were planning to enter the fighting state. The result was good. Sengoku Inspector General actually let everyone run away, which made many Marine soldiers a little hesitant. Because, until now, they still don't know what the Sengoku Inspector General is afraid of. Could it be that the man is really that scary? Let them evacuate Marineford before the fight begins. Go away. Seeing Marine soldiers in a hesitant state, Sengoku, who entered the form of a big Buddha, is going to go crazy. He knows the behavior of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, and he can't help but let out a foul language. Withdraw. We retreat. The voice did not fall. The Marine soldiers, who were still indecisive at first, came to their senses at once, and without thinking too much, they began to fly out in all directions in a panic. Do you think they can escape? Looking at Marineford, who was in chaos, Luo Lei showed a faint smile and said, it's just stubborn resistance. Stop being complacent. After hearing this, the giant Buddha incarnated by Sengoku roared fiercely. Right now, Seraph, attack me. Swish, swish. After this sentence, two piercing sounds resounded. I saw two white-haired and dark-skinned children with black wings and flames on their wings. They flew out of a very hidden room at the top of the fortress and suspended beside Sengoku. Laugh, laugh. Two yellow lasers flashed away and bombarded Luo Lei at an extremely fast speed. Not a human, like a pacifist. In the face of two children's attacks, Luo Lei didn't dodge either, just suspended in midair. He didn't expect that after so many years, the world government has actually developed such a thing that even observation hockey can't perceive. Boom. A roar resounded. Luo Lei didn't use armament hockey, so he was attacked by two seraphs, and a terrifying energy shock wave broke out, which made Marineford shake a few times. Chapter 43. The quality of this thing is not good. Perfect. Seeing that Luo Lei was hit so precisely by the seraph's attack that even armament hockey couldn't use it, Sengoku, who was transformed into a giant Buddha, couldn't help clenching his fists. He was waiting for this moment. Seraph. A pacifist developed by Vegapunk with the power to replace 7 warlords of the sea. Simply put, not only can use the power of 7 warlords of the sea, but also maximize immunity to some physical attacks. It's Marine's newest secret weapon. Now, in order to deal with Luo Lei, Sengoku had no choice but to use it, hoping to have a windfall. The result did not disappoint him. Seraph got off to a good start as soon as he made his move. How is this possible? This seems to be the wings of our Lunalia clan. That's the PX mark. These two kids are pacifists. Damn it, really damn it, what exactly is the world government studying? Quote. The sudden appearance of the blazing angel made Jin fall into a state of madness, especially when he saw the black wings that were blazing. His inner anger was nowhere to be found. Many years ago, the Red Line has a kingdom of gods, while the Lunalia are known as gods. As a result, it was inhumanly exterminated by the world government. The reason is also very funny. Saying that there is only one god in the sea, that is the world nobles, celestial dragons, the Lunaria people are not worthy of the title of gods. And Jin is one of the survivors. It's good now. It's not enough for the Lunaria to be exterminated. He also put the flaming black wings unique to the Lunaria tribe on the pacifist. This made Jin unable to calm down at all. Tolerate. But, Jin looks like a person who does great things. Even though his anger was already full, he held back on the verge of going berserk, and turned his eyes to Lord Luo Lei. As long as Lord Luo Lei is fine. That shitty Seraph is not rubbish, but only to be blown up. Interesting, Seraph's attack power is not bad. Swish. A cracking sound rang out. Luo Lei left the central area of the explosion, looked at the two Seraphs with interest, and said, this pacifist, when it is not activated, even observation hockey can't perceive it, there is still something difficult. You didn't get hurt at all. Advertisement. Looking at Luo Lei intact, Sengoku, who was transformed into a giant Buddha, showed a surprised expression. He knew how powerful Seraph's attack was. Without armament hockey's defense, even he would be injured. It turned out well. Luo Lei is not injured at all. This isn't right. 40 years ago, Luo Lei's physical defense didn't seem so pervert. However, Sengoku doesn't know. Today is not the same as it used to be. The attack of the two Seraphs really couldn't break Luo Lei's defense, so there was no need to use armament hockey. How could this attack hurt me? Luo Lei shook his head, and said disapprovingly, I was attacked by Seraph on purpose just now. I wanted to test the strength of the attack, but the result was so disappointing that I couldn't break my defenses at all. After hearing this, Sengoku, who was transformed into a giant Buddha, was suddenly speechless. He designed and calculated for most of the day. Just want to let the secret weapon, two blazing angels catch Luo Lei by surprise. The result is good. In the end, after a long time of bells and whistles, the clown turned out to be himself. Lord Luo Lei, this so-called seraph should be made according to the appearance of Shichibukai. You can see that one of the seraphs is very similar to Doflamingo, and the other is like crocodile. At this time, Jin also reacted, and after careful consideration of the square, he added, if I guessed correctly, Marine should also have a seraph like an eagle eye, a seraph like an empress, like. Quote. That's right. Now that Seraph's trump card has been revealed. Sengoku didn't hide his pinch, and interrupted Jin's words neatly, saying, Seraph is the latest scientific research achievement of Vegapunk, with strength comparable to or even surpassing 7 warlords of the sea, and this is also the cancellation of 7 warlords of the sea. The direct cause of the sea, because they have no use value anymore. Vegapunk. After hearing this, a ray of light flashed in Luo Lei's eyes. 40 years ago, he had seen a guy numbered 02 calling himself Vegapunk, not a bad old man, but a young girl with a sense of the future. That time, Vegapunk wanted to cooperate with him, saying that he had seen the design of life, and wanted to study his wood style and explore the true meaning of life together, but he rejected him mercilessly. The body does not dare to reveal. Let an artificial person numbered 02 come out, but also want to cooperate, want to eat shit. In the end, the guy with the number 02 calling himself Vegapunk was arrested by the world government and started working for the world government. Now it seems, Vegapunk still has a few brushes. The blazing angel in front of me seems to be doing well, but I don't know what the quality is. Advertisement. Swish. The next moment, Luo Lei's body disappeared in place. How is it possible? Such a fast speed. Seeing Luo Lei disappearing suddenly, Sengoku, who had transformed into a giant Buddha, immediately tensed up. When he was about to say something, he found that Luo Lei had already pinched one of the blazing angels like Doflamingo in his hand. Attack. Seeing this, Sengoku hurriedly ordered. Swish. Swish. 10 almost transparent thin silk threads flew out from the 10 fingers of the blazing angel like Doflamingo, and wrapped around Luo Lei's body at a speed invisible to the naked eye. Laugh. Laugh. As the silk threads got closer and closer, a harsh rubbing sound sounded. However, no matter how hard you try, Luo Lei's body didn't react at all, not even the slightest sign. Is this interesting? Feeling the silk thread wrapped around his body, Luo Lei shook his head coldly, reached out and grabbed the seraph's head in his hand, with a violent force. Boom. A broken voice sounded. Seraphs like Doflamingo have their heads twisted off alive. And this is just the beginning. Boom. Boom. A few more voices rang out. The legs and hands of this blazing angel like Doflamingo were torn off alive. The quality of this stuff is really bad. Looking at the pile of delicate parts and organs in his hand, Luo Lei threw it out and said in a low voice, in the future, don't take out these garbage-like things, so don't take them out for shame. By the way, there's another one. The voice did not fall. Luo Lei's body flashed and slammed into another blazing angel. That's right. Just hit it with your body. Boom. Another explosion sounded. The seraph, which was immune to any attack, was actually blown up alive, and countless parts splashed around. Chapter 44. Crush Sengoku, Wood-Style Secret Art. The Birth of the Tree World, 4th Shift, Begging for Flowers and Evaluation. 1 second. 2 Marine's secret weapons, the seraphs, became parts scattered across Marineford's squares. Simple, direct, violent. This is the most intuitive feeling of many Marines. The seemingly powerful seraphs are like 2 toys. They are arbitrarily pinched and exploded, and they are completely useless. For a while, the whole Marineford fell into a sluggishness. The Marine soldiers who were retreating in a panic, saw Marine's secret weapon seraph appear, and there was a glimmer of hope in his eyes, and even the pace of retreat slowed down. Because they finally know what the Sengoku Inspector General wants to do. It turned out to be a plan to hide Luo Lei, and wanted to let the blazing angel take action. Result. Reality gave them a slap. That Luo Lei first disassembled a seraph with his bare hands, and then smashed a seraph with his body. Co-author Marine's secret weapon is so vulnerable. Quick. Something is wrong. Speed up and evacuate. Quote. Next moment, the Marines, realizing that something was wrong with the situation. After calming down, he didn't dare to hesitate at all, and began to evacuate at a faster speed in a panic. Impossible. Breaking the seraph with his body without using armament haki and conqueror's haki. Sengoku, who entered the giant Buddha form, stared at the countless pieces of parts that fell on the ground in a stunned manner. A cold sweat dripped from his forehead, and looked at Luo Lei, who was suspended in midair, showing a bit of shock and inconceivable. What's the situation? What is going on with Luo Lei now? Luo Lei is very strong, he knows it, he knew it more than 40 years ago. But, Luo Lei at that time, relying on the wood style under the blessing of conqueror's haki, played his own era, and the top powerhouses of the era were overwhelmed by the suppression. So, he thought of many possibilities. I just didn't expect that Luo Lei wood style is useless, armament haki, conqueror's haki is useless, just relying on speed and strength to dismantle a seraph apostle, and then blow up a seraph. What is this? When did Luo Lei's speed, strength and physical fitness become so pervert? Correct. There is also defensive power, which is also very pervert. To know. Seraph's attack power and defense power Sengoku himself knows. Advertisement. But, the result. Just like that, the 3 to 5 to 2 is abolished. Can't figure it out. Sengoku really can't figure it out. This Luo Lei seems to be resurrected, but he has become a little strange. The only thing that has not changed is that he can do whatever he wants. Why, are you still distracted? But, just at this time. Luo Lei's cold voice resounded. Not good. It's too fast for observation hockey to keep up. The giant Buddha incarnated by Sengoku, like a conditioned reflex, slammed the arms covered by armament hockey in front of him. In the next instant, with the blessing of 3 times the speed of sound, Luo Lei's fist covered by armament hockey slammed the giant Buddha's arms fiercely. All right. This was intentional by Luo Lei. He just wanted to see how much power he would have with the blessing of speed. Boom. A deafening roar resounded. What a powerful force. Feeling the monstrous power from the arm, Sengoku's expression changed, revealing a horrified look, gritted his teeth, and the golden light flashed all over the incarnation of the giant Buddha, trying to resist. But I found that there are still some drop in the bucket. Maybe it's too powerful. The ground on which Sengoku was standing cracked instantly. Immediately afterwards, the entire huge body was suddenly bombarded to the ground, and countless cracks like spider webs were centered on the giant Buddha incarnated by Sengoku, filling the entire Marineford at a speed visible to the naked eye. And the powerful aftermath caused a shocking tsunami at sea. What? The Sengoku Inspector General was blasted underground with just one blow. How is this possible? Quote. A sudden scene. The Marine soldiers who had evacuated in a hurry were frightened and lost their minds. Cold sweat broke out on their foreheads, and some of them collapsed to the ground with their legs weak. Who is this? A naval headquarters rear admiral ran very fast and had already evacuated to the sea on a warship. Seeing this scene with a telescope, he couldn't help swallowing. He only felt that his soul was trembling, and his mind was blank. Joke. Stronger than Sengoku Inspector General was punched to the ground. Advertisement. Can the Marines who haven't escaped from Marineford still escape? By this time, they also understood why the Sengoku Inspector General wanted them to escape. It turned out that the people who came were too strong. Even Sengoku Inspector General can only bow his head proudly. At the same moment, is acceptable. Luo Lei nodded with satisfaction when he saw Sengoku being smashed into the ground, and he was too lazy to talk nonsense. Wood-style secret art. The birth of the tree world. Boom, 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 with the constant permeation of the Chattanooga. Marineford began to tremble violently, and then, as if something was about to emerge from the ground, there was a constant sound of trees rubbing against the ground. Boom. After a few seconds, under the unbelievable gazes of countless Marine soldiers, countless towering trees with intertwined roots burst out of the ground frantically, filling the entire Marineford in the blink of an eye. What are you kidding? What a terrifying ability to have the entire Marineford covered in forest. How is it possible? Isn't this the ability of the wild animal husbandry admiral? Quote. Looking at the countless towering trees, the Marine soldiers who had not had time to escape Marineford were already desperate, and their hearts were filled with endless sense of powerlessness. It was a scene in front of them that had subverted their inherent cognition. What? Sudden. A scream rang out. First saw a Marine soldier being stabbed to death by a towering tree. And this seems to be a fuse. Countless towering trees began to attack indiscriminately. Ah. The next moment. One after another screams sounded one after another. The entire Marineford seemed to have turned into a purgatory on Earth. Those Marine soldiers who had not had time to escape were crushed by towering trees one by one before they could react. Chapter 45. Do whatever you want. Marine former headquarters, Marineford. The majestic Marine fortress has completely disappeared. Looking around, all the buildings on the island collapsed and shattered, replaced by countless towering trees, almost completely wiped out except for some Marine soldiers and civilians who fled to the sea. At this time, looking at Marineford destroyed by countless towering trees. On the sea, on the decks of some Marine warships that have been withdrawn ahead of schedule. The hearts of the remaining Marines and the commoners were almost sluggish and dazed, and they suddenly became dazed, as if this was something that only happened in a dream. After all, this is Marine's former headquarters, Marineford. It is a forbidden place for countless big pirates. 1 second, 10 seconds, 3 minutes, with the gradual passage of time. Until the rough sea gradually calmed down. It's over. Marineford is over, completely over. How is it possible? When did such a monster emerge from the sea? The naval headquarters is going to be angry, and so is the world government. Wait for the sanctions from naval headquarters and the world government. Quote. Accompanied by a terrified uproar. The surviving Marines and the commoners recovered in no particular order, all showing expressions of horror and disbelief, and some even slumped on the deck, soaked with sweat, giving up and running away. Joke. In the face of the ruthless man who easily defeated the Sengoku Inspector General and destroyed Marineford with a single gesture. No matter how fast Marines' warships run, there may be no escape. Even more frustrating, even now, neither do the remaining Marine soldiers and civilians know. Who actually did it? When did such a number one person appear in the sea? Even Sengoku Inspector General was not an enemy of one and the same. Boss Luo Lei. Could it be a god? In midair, Jin smelled the bloody smell in the air. Looking at Marineford, who had become lush, his mind was blank. It seemed that he still hadn't reacted from the scene just now. With one blow, the giant Buddha incarnated by Sengoku was blasted into the ground. Then clapped both hands. The entire Marineford was covered by countless towering trees, pushing the entire island with a crushing force. The scene was extremely shocking and terrifying. Even Jin, who was already mentally prepared, was trembling with fear. Advertisement. Originally, after Lord Luo Lei decided to destroy Marineford, Jin was still eager to try. After all, before the destruction, naval headquarters, there will always be a sense of accomplishment and pride. He is ready to cooperate with Lord Luo Lei. It's good now. Lord Luo Lei has a big move. Marineford is done, still collaborating. Collaborate with a hammer, so that Jin had an illusion. That is, Lord Luo Lei has surpassed the category of human beings and has become a god, with the power to destroy the world. God. After hearing this, Luo Lei shook his head calmly, glanced at Sengoku, who was deep in the ground, and said indifferently, I'm still the ancestor of the sea who did whatever he wanted, not a god. Quote. Jin showed an expression of sudden realization, and stopped talking. At the same time, damn, Luo Lei, what exactly do you want to do? Have you forgotten that because of your unscrupulous style of doing things you want to do, and the anger you provoked, the scene where you were besieged on Kamiya Island more than 40 years ago? If you don't change your character, there will be a catastrophe one day. Boom. Accompanied by an uncontrollable roar. Sengoku, who was driven into the pothole alive, felt the Marineford who had been destroyed, resisted the pain in his body, gritted his teeth, and exploded again. In an instant, the golden light, which had been very sad at first, was suddenly shaken. Immediately after, the giant Buddha incarnated by Sengoku swelled a lot again, and climbed out of the pothole with incomparable strength, bursting out with a terrifying aura, breaking hundreds of towering trees around him. Obviously, Sengoku in anger and collapse. I don't care about anything anymore, I completely liberate the power of the Buddha form, and I want to give it a shot. I'm sure I haven't forgotten. Looking at Sengoku who was crazy, Luo Lei shrugged in disapproval, a wisp of Azu's smile flashed on his cheek, and said violently, you besieged me, and even attacked me in the end, I have nothing to say, after all, the essence of the sea is that the weak eat the strong. Now that I am resurrected, Laozi will tell you that if you dare to provoke Laozi, you will have to pay the price in blood. Laozi just does whatever he wants, so what? Quote. All right, if you have the strength, you can't do what you want, so what do you do? Then the peak Senju Hashirama template and the peak Motherland template he drew are not abolished. Go road. Cowardly. Advertisement. And then be kidnapped by morality. Stop joking. Ancestors do things without reasons. Sure enough, Sengoku, who wanted to say something at first, suddenly stopped talking, and felt that his heart was dead for a while. After the resurrection, Luo Lei not only became stronger, but also acted more violently and unscrupulously. The original ancestor of the sea has finally returned, and the whole sea will be in the fear of being dominated by the ancestors. Destroying Marineford now may be just the beginning. You should continue to go back to the underground. The next moment, Luo Lei's body flashed above Sengoku who had just climbed out of the pothole. With a slight grip of his right hand, Armament Haki and Conqueror's Haki quickly wrapped around his fist and slammed towards Sengoku. Danger. Sengoku, who entered the form of a giant Buddha, shrank slightly, and let out a loud roar. Armament Haki and Conqueror's Haki quickly filled the two huge arms. First, he patted the air with full firepower, and then subconsciously folded his arms. On the chest. A white fluorescent light appeared. A terrifying air shock wave erupted and Luo Lei's fist collided suddenly. Puff. Didn't last for a second. The shock wave shot by the giant Buddha was blasted abruptly. Immediately after, a fierce bombardment hit Sengoku's golden folded arms. Boom. Luo Lei's fist is small. Compared with the huge golden giant Buddha, it is even more insignificant. But, under the power of the Motherland, Armament Haki, the wanton blessing of Conqueror's Haki. The power that was even more terrifying than the blow just now burst out, making Sengoku, who was transformed into a giant Buddha, feel like he was not facing a person, but an extraterrestrial meteor. How could it be possible? The golden giant Buddha incarnated by Sengoku let out an incompetent fury, but found that it had no effect. Clap. Clap. This is the sound of cracks appearing in the arms of the golden giant Buddha. Not good. What? The giant Buddha incarnated by Sengoku screamed, his arms were shattered by the bombardment, and a powerful force poured out. The ground at the foot of the golden giant Buddha began to sag. In less than 3 seconds, the golden giant Buddha incarnated by Sengoku was crushed into the ground again. Chapter 46 If you don't want to be decent, then Laozi will make you decent. 2 more kneeling for flowers and evaluation. Quiet. With the crazy explosion of Sengoku. Once again crushed and slammed into the ground. The aftermath of the powerful force poured over Marineford once again, causing the already crumbling island to gradually begin to crumble, and once again set off a series of huge waves. In the face of such a terrifying picture, the remaining Marines and civilians on the Marine warship have fallen into absolute sinking and sluggishness. No one speaks, for having fallen into terrifying despair. Stronger than Marines Ding Haishenzhen, Marines former Marshal, Sengoku Inspector General, after bursting out with all his strength, are not the opponents of this guy who suddenly appeared in front of him. How terrible is this? To know, this is Sengoku, famous all over the sea. Although old, strength has declined, but no one dares to underestimate his status in the sea. Result, being blasted into the ground without a fight back, isn't the gap a bit too big? Ended. Jin suppressed the exclamation in his heart, as if thinking of something, a look of anticipation appeared on his cheeks. Have nothing to say, even as strong as Sengoku Inspector General was defeated like a smash. Then as long as Mr. Luo Lei returns to Wanokuni, the B************ D Momonosuke, the retainers of the Kazuki family, the Elephant Master, the Straw Hat Pirates, the Kid Pirates, and the Heart Pirates will all have to feed Laozi. Especially that Straw Hat Luffy. Also awakened Renren Fruit, you demons, Nika form. Still wash it, waiting to be blasted by Lord Luo Lei. Boss Kaido, if you don't die, just wait. Once Lord Luo Lei and I return to Wanokuni, we will avenge you and save you from the magma. If you die, Lord Luo Lei will also resurrect you. Thinking of this, Jin was full of anticipation and confidence in the future, and madly shouted in his heart, Lord Luo Lei YYDS. Sengoku, Mr. Sengoku, what should I do? What should I do? At the same time, a naval headquarters rear admiral was almost completely paralyzed with fright, and fell on the deck with his eyes blank. He no longer had any thoughts in his mind, only the fear of Luo Lei. Wait a minute, but, just at this time, advertisement. A dull-looking Marine seemed to notice the sound, and shouted excitedly, we haven't lost yet. Sengoku Inspector General stood up again. Veterans don't die, they just fade away. The Sengoku Inspector General hasn't conceded defeat yet, and continues to fight. Great. Sengoku Inspector General, come on, we must defeat the pirates and maintain the justice and dignity of our Marine. Quote. And this is like a fuse. The Marine and the civilians on the deck, who were already in despair, were instantly excited, and they all involuntarily made a series of excited voices, encouraging Sengoku Inspector General from the air. Have nothing to say. As long as Sengoku Inspector General can stand up, there is no losing. Veterans don't die. Maybe a miracle will happen. And above the ruins of Marineford, Sengoku, who entered the state of the giant Buddha, wondered if he was not afraid of death. Already tremblingly crawled out of the pothole, and then stood up with his head held high. Looking around, it seems to be full of momentum, but in fact, the golden Buddha has blood on his body, which is very miserable, as if the wind can blow it down. PFF'd. Ha 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 ha. Sengoku, who stood up again, spit out a few mouthfuls of blood with a smile. Lost. He lost miserably, miserably. This Luo Lei is more powerful and pervert than more than 40 years ago, but he is no longer at his peak. Now after the resurrection, the first thing is to get revenge on Marine. Sengoku can only imagine the revenge Marine will face next. But, he was helpless, he could only stand up and maintain his last bit of dignity. You don't do what you want. I, Sengoku, will not yield. Even death will not yield to evil, even if it is death, I will die standing up. Alive. Luo Lei stared at the proud and immortal Sengoku with a faint smile, and said, as expected of Marine's former marshal, his vitality is quite tenacious. Justice is never absent. After hearing this, although his body was on the verge of collapse, Sengoku, who had transformed into a giant Buddha, reluctantly raised his arms and let out his own cry, Marine will never yield to evil. Luo Lei, you will one day. Boom. It's not over yet. A cracking sound resounded. Advertisement. Sengoku's huge Buddha body had already flown out and hit the ground hundreds of meters away. Perhaps it was severely injured. Sengoku recovered his body and lay there with blood. You talk too much. After blowing up Sengoku with a single blow, Luo Lei waved his fist and said something lightly. PFF'd. The voice did not fall. Sengoku spat out a mouthful of blood, and stood up staggeringly. No. Sengoku Inspector General, admit it. Stop standing up. That person is a lunatic and a demon. Seeing such a tragic Sengoku, the remaining Marines and civilians on the Marine warship felt like they had broken a bucket of cold water, their hearts tightened, and some even closed their eyes. What veterans don't die? Sengoku Inspector General was purely beaten and crushed one-sidedly, so they couldn't bear to watch it. Luo Lei, you, laugh. A red-hot sight cut through the air. Before Sengoku had finished speaking, he flew towards Sengoku at a speed that could not cover his ears. Sengoku's pupils contracted violently, trying to push armament hockey, but found that his body was severely injured and it was too late. Are you going to die? Exactly. Freed. Ancestors resurrected. I am afraid that the sea will set off a stormy wave again. But, these are none of my business. Garp, old boy. I'm going one step ahead. Boom. A roar resounded. Sengoku's head was blown alive by the heat vision, and the red and white things were scattered all over the place. Does Laozi dare not kill you? After killing Sengoku, Luo Lei showed a disdainful smile. This Sengoku likes to be ignorant. If you don't want to be decent, then Laozi will make you decent. Chapter 47. Akainu, who is frightened. You don't want to be decent. That Laozi will make you decent. Besides, for so many years, you've lived enough, and you've had enough to die. Died. How is it possible? Sengoku Inspector General is dead. It's over, it's over, the Sengoku Inspector General is killed. Quote. The next moment, accompanied by a series of exclamations. Those Marines and civilians on the deck of the warship, although their hearts were already occupied by fear, still showed expressions of horror and disbelief. They never thought that Sengoku Inspector General would be killed by a headshot, and they never thought that the guy named Luo Lei would do it when he said he would do it, and he had no intention of showing mercy at all. To know, this is Marine's former elemental master, the current Inspector General. Isn't this Luo Lei not afraid of being retaliated and attacked by Marine and listed on the must-kill list by the world government? Can't figure it out. They really have something to think about. Quote. And the most calm person may be Jin. He knew that Lord Luo Lei did whatever he wanted, this Sengoku was shameless, and it was quite normal for him to be killed. In a word, Luo Lei does things without reasons. Jin, get ready to go. Luo Lei didn't even look at Sengoku, who was already dead, and said in a low voice, I've already shown my sword, so let's see how Marine and the world government deal with it. Understood. Jin hesitated for a moment, then glanced at the Marine warships on the sea in the distance, and whispered, Lord Luo Lei, do you want to get rid of the remaining Marines and civilians? Ha ha. Luo Lei shook his head and said disapprovingly, if you are too lazy to do it, let them be witnesses to the new history of the sea. You can come back. After saying this, Luo Lei clapped his hands lightly. Swish. The next moment, under Jin's incredible gaze, I saw a few people exactly like Lord Luo Lei emerge from the ruins of Marineford, and a few dodging figures appeared next to Lord Luo Lei and took out a few scrolls. Puff, puff. After Luo Lei took the scroll, those wood clones turned into smoke and disappeared. This is. Jin widened his eyes and muttered to himself. It seems to be a clone technique, but how is it more clever and powerful than the clone technique of those ninjas in Wanokuni? Advertisement. Those coquettish things are also worthy of being compared with me. Putting away the seal scroll, Luo Lei's eyes moved, showing a disdainful expression. At first, during the unification of Wanokuni, he played against the ninjas in Wanokuni, but found that they were all garbage, and all kinds of ninjutsu were like being castrated. As for these seal scrolls, of course, some of the treasures and devil fruit that Marine left in Marineford were sealed. Without any exaggeration, this trip to Marineford, he can be said to have won a lot of money. When there is time, let the system absorb the devil fruit energy collected in naval headquarters, and unlock and integrate some peak Motherland templates. Luo Lei's mouth was slightly raised, and he silently made a decision. As long as he gets stronger and stronger, then he will not be afraid of anything, and he can do whatever he wants. Swish. Thinking of this, Luo Lei's body flashed and flew in the direction of Sabayati Archipelago. Are you going to New World? Jin looked happy, and with a wave of his wings, he hurriedly followed. He is very clear. Destroy Marineford and kill old Sengoku. It's just the beginning, the real battle is yet to come. Call. Have they gone? We don't have to die, we're saved. Quote. After Luo Lei and Jin left, those on the deck were tense and despairing to the extent of ultimate Marine and civilians, all of them breathed a sigh of relief involuntarily, and some even showed the joy of the rest of their lives. Not easy. They are really not easy. Originally. After the death of Sengoku Inspector General, they all thought they were doomed. But did not expect. Luo Lei and Jin had no intention of doing anything at all, as if they were not worth doing at all. Just thinking of the ruined Marineford and the dead Sengoku Inspector General, many Marine soldiers and civilians still showed a gloomy look. Marine was madly beaten in the face, but they managed to survive, no matter what they thought, they felt a little uncomfortable. Wait a minute. Quick. Get the phone bugs. Suddenly, a naval headquarters rear admiral suddenly recovered from his decadent state, wiped the cold sweat on his forehead, and said urgently, such a big thing happened in Marineford, we have to report to naval headquarters immediately. Quote. Nemas. Just now, I had severe mood swings, felt uneasy in my heart, my mind was blank, and I forgot even the most important things. Right. Quick. Get the phone bug. The voice did not fall. Several Marine lieutenant commanders also responded. Advertisement. Coming. After 3 minutes, a Marine soldier hurried over with a phone bug. Call. The rear admiral from naval headquarters took the phone bug, took a deep breath, suppressed the throbbing in his heart, and resolutely dialed the phone bug. The other side. New World. Former Marine G1 branch. At this time, inside the marshal's office on the top floor, Marine elementalist Akainu is there working on the papers in hand. With the birth of the new 4 emperors, the fame of Yan Emperor Sabo, and the death of Marine's substitute Admiral T. Dolphin, who was suppressed by Marine, Akainu has been busy these days, and he has been working for 5 consecutive days. Call. I do not know how long it has been. Only then did Akainu put down a document in his hand, and muttered to himself, I hope Kizaru can investigate some useful information in West Blue. Even though Kizaru didn't want to go to West Blue, Akainu sent him, who called him the fastest. Just find out. Then Marine will act with thunder. Thinking of this, Akainu also stretched, ready to leave work. Bolu. However, just when Akainu was about to pack up and was about to open the door and leave the office, the phone worm on the desk rang in vain. Hey, hear the sound of the phone bug. Akainu's expression suddenly became a little uncomfortable, but he still walked to the desk and picked up the phone bug. This is Naval Headquarters, I'm Marshal Sakazuki. Mr. Sakazuki, something is bad. From the other end of the phone bug came the urgent and trembling voice of the Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral. Marineford was attacked, Sengoku Inspector General was killed, and Marineford was destroyed. What did you say? Akainu, who was still careless at first, almost threw the phone bug in his hand. What's the situation? Marineford was destroyed, even Sengoku Inspector General was killed. Did you make a mistake? Chapter 48. That man was resurrected. Fourth more kneeling and begging for flowers and evaluation. What did you say? Akainu, who was still careless at first, almost threw the phone bug in his hand. What's the situation? Marineford was destroyed, even Sengoku Inspector General was killed. Did you make a mistake? You can't joke like this. Anyway, Akainu can't understand, who would be so bold in the sea to destroy Marineford and kill Sengoku, the former Marines Marshal. Even Yan Emperor Sabo, 4 Emperors Luffy, Blackbeard, red-haired Shanks, Buggy, Revolutionary Army would not be so ignorant. Because, if you do this, undoubtedly, it is a direct declaration of a full-scale war with Marine and a tit-for-tat confrontation with the world government, which will be hit by Marine in all aspects. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. So much so that Akainu, who was already angry, roared subconsciously, whoever you are, dare to make such a joke, wait for the military law to deal with it. Mr. Sakazuki, is this true? On the other end of the phone bug. The Marine Rear Admiral didn't even dare to breathe, and said terribly, now Naval Headquarters has become a ruin, covered by countless towering trees. Sengoku Inspector General was killed by that man named Luo Lei, died mercilessly in a headshot. What the hell are you talking about? Akainu feels like he's going crazy. Does the guy on the phone bug really think he's an idiot and a fool? Would you believe such low-level lies and deceit? If Marineford is destroyed, if Sengoku is killed, Sakazuki will write his name upside down and run naked in the sea. Real. What I'm saying is true. Marineford was literally destroyed. Not only was the Sengoku Inspector General dead, many Marine soldiers and civilians were killed by countless towering trees. It was Jin from the Beast's Pirates, who brought that man named Luo Lei to Marineford. It seems that General Sengoku Inspector and Luo Lei knew each other, and they said they fought over 40 years ago. That man was very violent and ruthless. The Marine Rear Admiral on the other end of the phone was also a little flustered and spoke incoherently. Wait a minute. Akainu, who wanted to get angry at first, was stunned, and after running a circle in his mind, he said subconsciously, you mean that Jin went to Marineford and brought a man named Luo Lei with whom Sengoku met more than 40 years ago. Luo Lei fought, and countless towering trees killed many Marine soldiers and civilians. Advertisement. Yes, seeing that Marshal Akainu finally believed in himself. On the other end of the phone bug, the Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral nodded hurriedly and said, that guy named Luo Lei is extremely terrifying. Arrogance to ultimate. This, how so? Could it be that the legendary ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, who created a blank year in history, has really been resurrected? Quote. Akainu was completely mad, and he couldn't keep his peace any longer, especially when he thought of the death of the T-Dolphin in West Blue. Everything seemed to be explained clearly. With the same name, Jin is by his side, using trees to attack. He met Sengoku 40 years ago, and he can kill Sengoku. Various conditions point to Luo Lei, who has been dead for more than 40 years. Do not. I'm going to see Marineford. Still can't believe it. Akainu tried his best to suppress the anger and shock in his heart, but found that he couldn't hold back at all. Bolu. So, on the other end of the phone bug. Before the Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral finished speaking, the phone worm in his hand heard the sound of being hung up. As for the reason, of course it was the Marshal. Akainu had lost his temper, and the phone bug in his hand was instantly swallowed by the magma and turned to ashes. Next moment. No sign. A terrifying heat swept out in all directions without restraint, covering the entire Marine G1 headquarters. What's the situation? Is this the breath of Marshal Sakazuki? What happened to Sakazuki Yuenshi? How could such a terrifying heat wave erupt? Quote. In the next instant, the countless Marines in the entire Marine G1 headquarters showed extremely horrified expressions, and all looked in the direction of Marshal Sakazuki's office. Obviously didn't figure it out. What is it that actually caused the outburst of Marshal Marine Sakazuki? Advertisement. Marines' high-end combat power such as Dark Horse, Garp, Aramaki, Momosugi, etc., got up and walked out of the office one after another, with extremely unbelievable eyes flashing in their eyes. Because, under the perception of their observation haki, Marshal Sakazuki was already on the verge of erupting, and the fluctuations in his body's power were extremely terrifying and violent, and it seemed to be about to explode. Garp, Wild Animal Husbandry, Dark Horse, He Tingling, go to Marineford with me. Boom. Sudden. Just at this time, the sound of an office door being slammed rang out. Akainu's body flashed, and he appeared in the sky above Marine G1 headquarters, and gave an order with no emotion. Swish. After saying this, without waiting for Garp and the others to react, they flew in the direction of Marineford. Could it be? Something happened to Marineford. The Dark Horse looked stunned and said something subconsciously. Could it be that some pirates dared to attack Marineford? Crane shook his head and said in a heavy tone. Because, I don't know what happened. There was an ominous premonition in her heart. Impossible. Amur Mew shrugged cursingly, and said, Marineford is the symbol of our marine. Who dares to attack after eating a bare-hearted leopard? Does he really think that our marine is vegetarian? Let's go and have a look. Garp was rarely a fool, put down the senbei in his hand, suppressed the ominous premonition in his heart, and followed in a flash. No way. It's just that Akainu's state is too irritable. Obviously something happened to Marineford. He wanted to ask, but found that Akainu had gone, and now he had to go to Marineford to see it in person. I just hope that Sengoku is a good friend, and nothing happens. Chapter 49. It's him. The first half of the Grand Line. Marineford. After what happened that Marineford was destroyed and the Sengoku Inspector General was killed. The remaining Marines and civilians organized and began to protect the battlefield. Some Marine soldiers began to patrol the surrounding waters. Once a pirate appeared, they would either expel, capture, or kill. It's about Marines' face and dignity. Anyway, before the high-end combat power of naval headquarters comes. What happened in Marineford must not be passed on. This also led to the fact that no pirates dared to stay in the waters around Marineford. Some pirates wanted to see why there were tsunamis and roars in the waters where Marineford was located. But, facing the aggressive patrolling Marine, he suppressed his curiosity and left. After all, this is the former naval headquarters. It's not something that the little pirates in the first half of the Grand Line can provoke. Finally, after a day, Sakazuki, Garp, Crane, Aramaki, and Dark Horse rushed to Marineford. Result: I was stunned by the scene in front of me. Except for Sakazuki, who had a little mental preparation, Garp, Crane, Aramaki, and Dark Horse all rubbed their eyes subconsciously, fearing that they were wrong. What's the situation? How Marineford became a forest? All kinds of buildings have become ruins, and no one is intact. In an instant, Garp, Crane, Wild Shepherd, and Dark Horse were all shocked and couldn't keep calm anymore. At this time, they finally knew why Marshal Sakazuki was so arrogant and out of control. Anyone who encounters this kind of situation is afraid that he will lose control, right? It's just hitting Marine in the face, hitting them in the face of Marine's high-end combat power, and trampling Marine's dignity and glory underfoot. What exactly happened? How did Marineford become like this? No, Sengoku. Sengoku's breath seems to be. Quote. Boom. Advertisement. The next moment, Garp, Crane, Wild Shepherd, and Dark Horse also burst out with extremely terrifying aura fluctuations, apparently also stimulated by Marineford's encounter. Among them Garp and Crane. It was even more panicked and accelerated, and soon reached the place where Sengoku was killed. Seemingly aware of Garp, Staff Officer Crane and others coming, the headless corpse of Sengoku, who was still standing on the ground, fell to the ground without any warning. Sengoku. Garp raised his head and roared angrily, his body hugged Sengoku's bloody Linlin's body in a flash, his expression extremely sad. It never occurred to him. Marineford was destroyed, Sengoku actually died, or was killed by a headshot. Seems to be too angry. The hideous Garp lost control. A terrifying aura swept out of Garp's body uncontrollably. Perhaps it was too strong. It shattered the clouds in midair, leaving many Marines in this sea area unable to breathe. They could only stand on the spot with a horrified expression. Going to faint. No doubt. This is Conqueror's Haki. Why is this happening? Staff Officer he also lost his former wisdom, his body trembling, and he took a few steps back, and he just stood there in despair. Sengoku is dead. How could he possibly die? But, the facts are in front of him, and the Crane has to believe it even if he doesn't believe it. That former Marine Master, his good friend, just died in Marineford. Garp, calm down. Seeing Garp getting out of control, the Dark Horse clenched his fists, took a deep breath, and said, now is not the time to be sad. The first task is to identify the murderer so that we can take action. Yes, it's time to find the murderer. Upon hearing this, Garp woke up suddenly from his grief, hugged Sengoku's body, and said with monstrous murderous intent, whoever it is, it will pay the price in blood. It won't be right. But, just at this time. But it was the unbelievable voice of the wild animal husbandry. Because, after using the ability of sense and fruit, he could not control the towering tree growing in Marineford, and it seemed that there was a vigorous force repelling the power of sense and fruit. Advertisement. Wait a minute. The power of these towering trees seems to be exactly the same as the forest in Wanokuni. No way. In the next instant, Wild Mew, who seemed to have thought of something, widened his eyes, and a look of uncertainty flashed on his cheeks. If he guessed correctly, it is the power of Luo Lei, the legendary ancestor of the sea, but, hasn't he been dead for more than 40 years? How could he still be alive? also attacked Marineford, killing the Sengoku Inspector General. Thinking of this, Aramaki frowned and looked at Marshal Sakazuki. If I'm not wrong, Luo Lei, who died more than 40 years ago, should have been resurrected by Jin. I wasn't sure at first, but now it's completely certain. Aware of Aramaki's gaze, Akainu took a deep breath after scanning the circle, and then said astonishingly, according to the information collected, that Luo Lei killed the T-Dolphin in West Blue before arriving at Marineford. Quote. What? Did you make a mistake? The legendary ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, has been resurrected. The voice did not fall. The dark horse and the staff of the crane made an exclamation in no particular order. Apparently, they did not expect that the person who killed Sengoku in this attack on Marineford was actually a person who had been dead for more than 40 years. It was simply incredible. It's him, Marine and the pirates, common enemy, Luo Lei. At this time, Garp slowly put Sengoku's body on the ground, and said in despair, actually, the moment I saw these towering trees, I knew who moved the hand, plus the residual breath, even more sure. I just didn't expect that the man was actually resurrected, and he also had some other means of attack. Speaking of which, Garp showed a rare expression of bitterness and powerlessness, and just slumped on the ground. It was the first time in his life that he had encountered such a powerless thing. He was so angry just now that he lost his mind and confidently said that Luo Lei would repay the debt with blood. But, after he calmed down, he realized that he seemed to have some fantastic ideas. At his peak, he couldn't beat Luo Lei. Now that he's old, can he still beat Luo Lei? More importantly, judging from Sengoku's wounds and the traces of the battlefield, it seems that Sengoku was forcibly blasted into the ground, and his head was also shot by some terrifying laser-like thing. No doubt, that Luo Lei is not only resurrected, but also more pervert. Chapter 50 Garp. Akainu, you can't hold it. Silence. The atmosphere of the scene is extremely dignified. After confirming that the legendary ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, was really resurrected. Whether it was Marine Elemental Division, Sakazuki, Marine Hero, Garp, or even the director of Marine Criminal Investigation Bureau, Dark Horse, Marine Admiral, Aramaki, and General Staff Officer, Crane, they all fell into silence. Obviously, it was all about being resurrected by Luo Lei, which shocked me. In Martial Marine, Sakazuki's fist is clenched and clenched. No way. This time Luo Lei slapped his face and completely ignored him, the Marine's marshal. T-Dolphin was dead, Sengoku was dead, Marineford was destroyed. If the heavyweight news spread out, he couldn't believe how the sea would shake. The world government will definitely take the opportunity to attack. Too difficult. It is really difficult for him to be a Marine marshal. It feels like all the unfortunate things have come swarming during this period of time. Why is that? Garp also slumped to the ground in a slump. By this time, only then did he realize that the title of his Marine hero was just a piece of shit, and it was useless at all. Seeing this scene, a naval headquarters rear admiral not far away had strands of cold sweat on his forehead. He wanted to report specific information, but his body froze in place, unable to move. After all, Sakazuki, Garp, Staff Crane, Aramaki, the terrifying aura emanating from the Dark Horse. Like a precursor to a volcanic eruption. It made him tremble a little bit. Tell me about the specific situation at that time. I don't know how long. Akainu took a deep breath, suppressed the infighting shock, glanced at the Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, and ordered, tell me what happened after Luo Lei arrived at Naval Headquarters, word for word. Quote. Marshal Sakazuki, we recorded it with the phone bug on the warship. After hearing this, the Rear Admiral from Naval Headquarters was shocked and didn't dare to say more nonsense. He hurriedly took out a strange phone bug from his arms and said cautiously, Jin actually found out that we were recording, but we didn't. Ignore us. Intentionally. Akainu froze for a moment, and then his face was somber that a drop of water dripped out. This Jin is killing people. Quick. Before Akainu could speak, Garp was like a drowning man who grabbed a life-saving straw, hurriedly stood up from the ground, and ordered urgently, let me out, I'll see what's going on. Okay. The Rear Admiral from Naval Headquarters took a few steps forward, first placed the curtain, and then placed the phone bug in front of the curtain, then lowered his head and retreated to the back. After a few seconds, with the operation of the phone bug, a picture appeared on the screen. As if playing a movie, the screen began to move constantly. When Luo Lei appeared on the screen, even though Luo Lei was already confirmed to be resurrected, Garp couldn't help showing disbelief. 1 second. 3 seconds. 1 minute. Comma. As time goes by, watching Luo Lei dismantle the Seraph with his bare hands, he slammed Sengoku into the ground with one punch, and with a slap of both hands, a towering tree-covered Marineford, and Sengoku's head exploded in the blink of an eye. The angry expressions of Akainu, Garp, Staff Crane, Aramaki, and Dark Horse gradually became frozen. Advertisement. Violent, manic, pervert, mighty. This is their first intuitive feeling about Luo Lei, especially killing Sengoku Inspector General, killing it as soon as they say it. It is almost not sloppy, and they are not moved by Sengoku's proud and immortal spirit. Finally, when the image came to an abrupt end, Akainu, Garp, Staff Crane, Aramaki, and Dark Horse didn't seem to recover. Silently. Zizi. This is the sound of a few drops of magma that fell to the ground, burning the earth. Marine's elemental master, Sakazuki once again lost his way. Certainly. In such a distressing moment. Not only Akainu, but even Garp, Alan Mew, Hema, and his staff all lost their composure, and the last bit of calm in his heart disappeared completely, and there was only hatred, anger, and wisps of fear for Luo Lei, and there was no distinction in his mind. A thought flashed through. That is the birth of the ancestors of the sea, and this sea is going to be turned upside down. Call Marine, I'm going to kill him. After a while, a stern look flashed in Akainu's eyes, and he said with murderous intent, no matter how strong he is, Marine will not be afraid. This absolutely evil guy must be punished and killed. I will never allow a trace of it. Evil exists. That's right. The dark horse took a deep breath and said, Marine will not tolerate the existence of such a dangerous person. His existence has threatened the balance of the sea. Ha ha ha. Then let's do it. The tall and strong man with slender legs laughed loudly and said, I can't wait for some of my fruit. Having said that, a majestic fighting intent emerged in Huang Mu's eyes, and he said, that Luo Lei's wood style is very strong, but, my sensen fruit is not weak. After this sentence, a power full of vitality erupted from Oromu's body. Boom. Another vibrating sound. I saw that Marineford, who had been very calm, began to shake. Under the incredible gaze of countless marines, countless towering trees grew, and the continuous growth and winding of branches even wrapped up all those towering trees formed by wood style. Suck me. Laugh. With the full power of the forest fruit. Those towering trees formed by wood style seemed to have lost their nutrients and begin to wither and fail rapidly. However, it's cool to breathe, but, when the wisps of sage body's chadula were absorbed into the body, Huang Mukai was surprised to find that the power of sensen fruit could not quickly digest and absorb this energy, but could only devour it little by little. I am most afraid of the sudden quietness of the air. Puff. After a few seconds, Aramaki stopped a little embarrassedly. He couldn't help the energy in the towering tree formed by wood style. Do it, pay the debt with blood. Ignoring Araki who failed to pretend, there was a hint of firmness in the eyes of Staff Officer He. He lost the calmness and wisdom of the past, and some only had a chilling look. It is good. Seeing that Dark Horse, Aramaki, and Staff Crane all supported his decision, Marshal Marine, Akainu's expression condensed, and he wanted to issue an order to assemble. Wait a minute. But, at the critical moment, advertisement. Garp, who was in a sluggish state, said in a surprising voice, this matter needs to be slowed down for a while. It's better to report it to the world government. We Marine can't handle this matter. What? Hearing this, Staff Officer Crane became unhappy and asked, Garp, don't you want to avenge Sengoku? He was tortured and killed by Luo Lei. This. Dark Horse and Wild Mew also showed puzzled expressions. It stands to reason that with the relationship between Garp and Sengoku, to avenge Sengoku, Garp should respond positively. But, why not only do not respond? Still holding back. Wouldn't it be plastic brotherhood? Garp, you mean I can't hold it? Sakazuki said a little unhappy. No matter how strong this Luo Lei is, first think we Marine will definitely be able to grasp it. Do not. Garp hesitated for a moment before saying in a positive tone, Sakazuki, you really can't control it, so let the 5 elders control it. Impossible. Sakazuki gritted his teeth and said resolutely. To put it in a bad way, he didn't want to report this series of things to the world government. T-Dolphin was killed, Marineford was destroyed, Sengoku was killed. Once these matters are reported to the world government, he could imagine the ugly faces of the officials of the world government, celestial dragons, including the 5 elders. And he, the Marine Marshal, I will definitely be reprimanded fiercely again. So, he, Akainu, must be able to grasp. Kill Luo Lei. Wash away Marine's shame. That's it. That's it. I will tell you what happened in the Battle of Kamiya more than 40 years ago. Seeing Akainu's incomparably determined appearance, Garp seemed to be a few years older again, a sad expression flashed across his bitter cheeks, and said with sigh, Luo Lei has been resurrected, there is no point in hiding a lot of history. Well, I'll tell you the truth. What? There is still Mi Shin in the Battle of Kamiya. Isn't Rox killed at the Battle of the Valley of the Gods? Quote. After this sentence, Dark Horse, Aramaki, and Staff Crane, including Sakazuki, all showed surprised expressions. All along, they all know that the history of the blank year is caused by the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei. But, how did Luo Lei die? But there has never been a clear explanation. The top combat power of the sea who participated in the Battle of Shengu also kept silent about this matter. It seems that Luo Lei's death has become a taboo. This also led Akainu, Hema and others to know that Luo Lei is very powerful. He is an ancestor from the sea who can do whatever he wants. But I don't know how Luo Lei was killed and disappeared into the sea. Back then, the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei was unscrupulous in the sea, relying on his own strength, he would do whatever he wanted, and did not take anyone or power in his eyes. In the end, after killing many celestial dragons, the world government was angry. Already. So, the five elders used the Uranus, one of the three ancient weapons, and some devil fruits with rare attributes as bait, and laid a net on the island of Kamiya, where the celestial dragons lived. United Marine, Roger Pirates, Rox Pirate, the three commanders of CP0, to besiege Luo Lei in the Valley of the Gods. When it comes to this, there was a rare look of sighing on Garp's old cheeks. Chapter 51. A history of more than 40 years. Even after so many years. When Garp thought of the scene of besieging Luo Lei, he was still a little frightened. Especially the huge Senju Avalokitesfera. After being covered by armament hockey and conqueror's hockey, the terrifying power made Garp, who was more than 40 years later, have some scalp tingling and couldn't help himself. What? Marine and Hai actually cooperate to deal with Luo Lei? Didn't Rox get killed on Kamiya Island? Why did he cooperate with you again? What the hell is going on? Quote. Garp didn't say it and said. As soon as he mentioned Akainu, Hema, Staff Officer Crane, and Araki became even more puzzled, and there was still some inconceivable in their hearts. In order to deal with a Luo Lei, Rox Pirate, Luo Lei Pirates, Marine, CP0's high-end combat power has all started. Is this not a joke anymore? No matter how strong Luo Lei is, he can't be so pervert and invincible. Let the top battles on the sea more than 40 years ago go head to head. You listen to me first, then you will understand everything, and you will understand why the world government created a blank year of history. Garp shook his head dejectedly, and said with some nostalgia, on the island of Kamiya, Luo Lei confidently walked into the trap carefully laid out by the world government. I, Sengoku, Zephyr, Kong, Rox D. Zebek, Golden Lion Shiki, Edward Newgate, Silver Axe, John, Akoku, Gal D. Roger, Silver Rayleigh, Copper Jabba, the 13 top forces in the sea today united and began to besiege Luo Lei. Quote. Quote comma quote. Quote comma quote. After half an hour, Garp explained what happened in Kamiya Island word by word. It is strange to say that, even after more than 40 years, Garp still remembers the terrifying chaos that changed the pattern of the sea, not even forgetting some small details. Quiet. The scene is a sluggish. Neither Sakazuki nor Dark Horse, Staff Officer Crane, or Aramaki said anything, only the horrified expressions on their cheeks showed their extreme restlessness. The fact is also true. In the middle of speaking, Akainu, the Dark Horse, the Crane Staff, and the heart of Araki have already set off a stormy sea. When he learned that the world government had used his trump card and attacked Luo Lei when he was no longer at his peak, Luo Lei was plunged into the abyss of the sea and completely killed. It's blank. They thought of many possibilities. I just didn't think of it. The island of Kamiya also has a secret that makes the sea shake dozens of times. No wonder Garp, Sengoku, Kong, Zephyr, Whitebeard, Roger, Rox and others are reluctant to say it. Everyone is a well-known powerhouse in the sea. They joined forces to besiege Luo Lei and have yet to win. This kind of shameful loss is enough to go down in history. Even a strong man with a backbone would not publicize it. I'm afraid it wasn't when I learned that the world government was erasing all information and traces about Luo Lei. Roger, Garp, Sengoku, Whitebeard, etc., are still secretly contributing to the flames. This kind of shameful history, it is better not to exist. Advertisement. So that Garp and Roger teamed up to kill Rox later. Akainu, Hema, Staff Officer Crane, and Alan Mew didn't take it seriously. There was only one thought in their hearts. Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, died. How did he come back to life? Shouldn't he be resurrected? Judging from the picture just now, Luo Lei's speed, strength, and physical fitness seem to have become stronger now. Garp was silent for a moment, then continued, I just don't know how strong it is. Although I really want to avenge Sengoku, but, we Marine really can't control it, let the world government control it. Gathering all of Marine's high-end combat power, plus Seraph, will there be a chance to take down Luo Lei? After hearing this, a gleam of unwillingness flashed across Akainu's resolute cheeks, and said, our Marine's overall strength is actually not weak. As long as we can win Luo Lei, many things will be solved, and Marine's prestige will reach a peak. The opportunity is definitely there, but, there are too many uncertain factors. Garp hesitated for a moment, then smiled bitterly. No one knows how strong Luo Lei is now, so my suggestion is to report it to the world government and let the five elders have a headache. After saying this, Garp paused and said in a complicated tone, I believe Sengoku thinks the same way, and doesn't want Marine to take risks. Quote. Seeing that Garp moved the dead Sengoku out, Akainu stopped talking for a while, but, there was still some resistance in his heart to report all this to the world government. As the current marshal of naval headquarters, such a big thing happened, not only could he not handle it properly, but he had to ask for help from the world government. No matter how he thought about it, Akainu felt that he was a bit aggrieved and uncomfortable as a marshal. Marshal Sakazuki, let's report to the world government. Seemingly seeing Akainu's scruples, Staff Officer he sighed and said in a deep voice, if the world government knew that Luo Lei was resurrected, the first reaction would be to think about what to do instead of blaming us Marine. After all, more than 40 years ago, the world government has learned the greatness of the ancestors of the sea. All right. Like Garp. In fact, the Crane staff also really wanted to avenge Sengoku. But, rationality told him that in the face of such a great ancestor who could do whatever he wanted, Marine was really unsure, so let the world government do it. Agree. Under the changing expression of the Dark Horse, he finally said helplessly, we still have to focus on the overall situation. After all, if our Marine can't take Luo Lei, resulting in heavy losses, the world government will blame it, and no one can afford this responsibility. Quote. Okay. Let the 5 elders have a headache. Alan Mew thought for a while, and a ray of bitterness flashed across his eyes under the sunglasses, and he agreed. It would be fine if Garp didn't say anything. But, having said that, Marine still has to go his own way, so he's going to be a bit tough. Okay. Okay. Seeing that Marine's executives all expressed their opinions, Akainu gritted his teeth with a fluctuating expression on his face, and took out the phone bug with a gloomy face, and reported what happened to Marineford to the 5 elders. No way. Due to the situation, he once again compromised with the evil. Bolu. However, just when Akainu was almost ready. Advertisement. The phone bug rang first. Hey. Akainu frowned and picked up the phone bug. I'm Marshal Marine, Sakazuki. Marshal Sakazuki, things are a little complicated with West Blue. Kizaru's solemn voice came from the other end of the phone bug. I checked the body of the T-Dolphin and found that his bones were damaged to varying degrees, especially his arms, which had been shattered. Although the fatal injury was caused by Jin, but I think someone else did it, and the T-Dolphin lost most of its combat power with one blow. After saying this, Kizaru's tone was obviously heavy. Beast's pirates has obviously been defeated. Where did this Jin find a monster-level combat power? Incredible. I see. Akainu sighed and said, Pelusalino, speed back to naval headquarters, a big event is about to happen in the sea. What? Marshal Sakazuki, what do you mean by that? Kizaru on the other end of the phone was a little confused, and subconsciously lengthened his tone. Could it be that Marine has found something? Do you know who did it? Akainu didn't hide it, and said neatly, Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea who died for more than 40 years, has been resurrected. Now Marineford of Marine has been destroyed, and even the Sengoku Inspector General has been killed. How is this possible? Marshal Sakazuki, what are you talking about? A look of horror appeared on Kizaru's wretched cheeks, and he only felt the buzz of fame in his mind. What are you kidding? Marineford was destroyed and even Sengoku died. Kizaru has never been so speechless as he is now. Does this Sakazuki like to joke so much after he became a marshal? Do not believe. He really doesn't believe. These are all true. Perhaps he knew that Kizaru didn't believe it, and Akainu didn't explain that much. He said, the time is urgent. When you get back to naval headquarters, I'll tell you something specific. Bolu. The voice did not fall. Akainu hangs up the phone bug and prepares to report to the world government. Chapter 52 Shocked 5 Elders. What's the situation? West Blue. C2 Marine Branch. Looking at the phone bug that was hung up, Kizaru's wretched face stretched for a long time. This Sakazuki, only half of what he said, even if Marineford is destroyed and Sengoku is killed, you have to tell me about the specific situation. I can't go up and down now, what should I do? Originally, Kizaru decided to rest in West Blue for a few days after checking out the corpse of the T-Dolphin. It's good now. The rest of the plan was ruined again, and we had to rush back to naval headquarters. It's scary, but, at the thought of Marineford being destroyed, Sengoku was killed, Kizaru's expression became solemn. Maybe something really happened to Marine. Once true. The consequences were severe. Laugh. A flash of yellow flashed. Kizaru's body disappeared in the C2 Marine Branch. At the same moment, Holy Land Mariejois, inside a mighty hockey castle of the world government. The 5 elders were standing or sitting, dealing with the documents in their hands with ugly faces. This time at the World Summit, such a thing happened, especially the fact that the Yan Emperor Sabo actually made trouble, and saw the real body of Lord Yimu and some incredible things in Panguchung, which was undoubtedly unbearable for the 5 elders. Nimas. Sabo of Dog Days. They seldom go to the ancient city of Pan. The result was good. He not only went to Pan Ancient City, but also entered the flower room and saw some incredible things on the Void Throne. Advertisement. Certainly. See, but it annoyed Lord Yimu, and now Lord Yimu has spoken harshly. That is, as long as Sabo is discovered, he will launch the big move that killed Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, and destroy Sabo and even the country where he is located. Revolutionary Army. It's all rubbish, and those countries that collude with the Revolutionary Army must die. Thinking of this, the faces of the 5 elders gradually improved. More than 40 years have passed, and even now, the 5 elders are shocked when they think of Lord Yimu's ultimate move that is like destroying the world. As for Luo Lei, the loser of an era, the only thing better than Rox and Roger is that it may have attracted the attention of Lord Yimu, and was killed by Lord Yimu himself. Now, the world government has wiped out almost all traces and materials of Luo Lei's existence. This is the fate of angering the world government. Soon, after processing the document in hand, the bald-headed 5 elders said indifferently, after blaming Cobra's death on Sabo, now Sabo has become a famous hero, and his prestige has vaguely surpassed that of the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Long. Hero. The blonde five elders said disapprovingly. If you mess with Lord Yimu, Sabo will die very badly. Yes, Sabo is definitely dead this time. The bearded five elders said without thinking. Let Marine monitor the phone bug of the Revolutionary Army. Once Sabo's whereabouts are found, today next year will be Sabo's Memorial Day. Boo, boo, but, just at this time, the phone bug placed in the middle of the desk suddenly rang. This is world government, I am five elders. The five elders with the highest status did not hesitate, picking up the phone bug and the teacup to take a sip of hot tea. Mr. Five Elders, I'm Sakazuki. On the other end of the phone bug. Akainu's heavy voice came out. Advertisement. Sakazuki. The five elders with the highest status took a sip of hot tea and said, is there something wrong? Now that the decision has been made, Akainu did not hide his pinch, and said neatly, Vice Admiral of Naval Headquarters. T-Dolphin was killed, Sengoku Inspector General was also killed, Marineford was destroyed, and the main culprit is the death of the ancestor of the sea for more than 10 years, Luo Lei. PFFT. Cough cough. Cough cough. After hearing this, the five elders with the highest status suddenly choked and coughed violently. What's the situation? What did he hear? Could this Akainu be joking? He could accept the killing of the T-Dolphin and the killing of the Sengoku Inspector General, but, the resurrection of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the Great Ocean who had been dead for more than 40 years, he couldn't accept it all at once. Lying can't be so outrageous, can it? If people can be resurrected, then the world government has lost so many high-end combat power, and the king who founded the world government 800 years ago, I am afraid that he has been resurrected long ago, right? Also get a little Luo Lei resurrected. Mr. Five Elders, everything is true, I will send you the video of Luo Lei's destruction of Marineford later. On the other end of the phone bug, Akainu seemed to have anticipated the reaction of the five elders, and said urgently, Luo Lei, who was more than 40 years ago, has been resurrected and has already started to take revenge on our marine. The world government must prepare. You're not telling the truth, are you? Hearing what Akainu said so prudently, the five elders with the best status froze for a moment, and then said slowly, Luo Lei, who has been dead for more than 40 years, has really been resurrected, and he killed Chado and Sengoku, kill Marineford. Are you sure you're not mistaken? Yes, Akainu added in a serious tone. Garp has already confirmed that it is indeed the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei. If I am not mistaken, it should be Kaido of the beasts who ordered Jin to resurrect Luo Lei by some means. Send the video over. The five elders with the highest status was already a little stunned, and subconsciously ordered. It is good. On the other end of the phone bug. Akainu didn't want to say anything more and hung up the phone bug. Chapter 53 Stupid I Am, the excitement of big news. Did you all hear it? Putting the phone bug on the table, the highest-ranking five elders wiped the tea from the corner of his mouth and said incredulously, Sakazuki said that the ancestors of the sea more than 40 years ago, resurrected. Not only did they kill Chugou and Sengoku, but they also destroyed Marineford. Quiet. The office fell into silence. The other five elders did not speak, but their eyes and cheeks were all flickering with expressions of horror and disbelief. If someone else said that Luo Lei was resurrected, the five elders would definitely not believe it, but now it was Marshal Marine, Sakazuki who reported it personally, so they couldn't believe it. How did he come back to life? After a few seconds. The bald-headed five elders touched his own juncture and said, it seems that even Lord Yim can't resurrect a dead person, right? Certainly not. 39. Hearing this sentence, the five elders with the mustache said subconsciously, when a person dies, he dies, and even Lord Yimu has only survived for so many years by relying on some special means. Wait a minute, let's watch the video first. The blonde five elders said in a heavy tone, if it is really determined to be resurrected, then things will be troublesome. The other five elders thought about it and nodded in unison, and their mood became not very good. Because, once the ancestor Luo Lei of the sea is resurrected, the sea will shake again. The new four emperors, the Revolutionary Army, Sabo, etc., are not enough to see in front of the ancestors of the sea. The Roger pirates and Rocks pirate more than 40 years ago are the lessons of the past. 10 minutes later, Kong Sora knocked on the door and entered the office in a dazed way. He was supposed to be working on some documents, but he was ordered by the five elders to visit their office. Lord Five Elders, Kong said with a serious face, is something wrong? You find a place to sit first. The bald-headed five elders shook his head and said unhappily, you'll find out in a moment. Okay. Kong noticed something was wrong with the atmosphere, so he found a place at will, and sat down without even breathing. All right. If this person has outsiders, you will find the famous commander-in-chief of the entire army, Kong in front of the five elders, respectfully like a child. Lord Five Elders, the footage from Marine has been received. Boom. With a knock on the door. I saw an official from the world government hurriedly pushed in the door with a phone bug. Put it on the table. Early with some eager mustache five elders gave an urgent order. Yes. The world government official did not hesitate, put the video phone bug on the desk, bowed his head, and exited the conference room. Call. The five elders with the best status took a breath and activated the video phone bug. Whoosh. The next moment, a picture was projected onto a screen on the left side of the desk. Bang. Bang. The first picture is to make the five elders and Kong stand up in a panic. As the picture keeps moving, the expressions of the five elders and Kong are constantly changing, and they don't even dare to move their eyes. In the end, they are all dumbfounded. Stood in place. Real. Resurrected. The ancestor of the sea more than 40 years ago has really been resurrected. How is this possible? How can a dead person be resurrected? Can't believe it. But, the fact is in front of them. Do you believe it even if you don't believe it? Especially when Luo Lei clapped his hands, Marineford was covered with countless towering trees, and the five elders and Kong couldn't help but recall the fear of the sea being dominated by wood style, the ancestor of the sea. Damn. Boom. I do not know how long it has been. The five elders with the highest status gritted their teeth and patted the table, roaring angrily. How on earth did this Luo Lei come back to life? Silence. No one answered the question of the highest-ranking five elders. Advertisement. Because, the other five elders and Kong were all in shock, their minds were in chaos, they didn't know what to say, and they didn't know where to start. All right. Similar to what the Crane staff said. After confirming the resurrection of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea more than 40 years ago, the death of Cha Dolphin and Sengoku, and the destruction of Marineford were not taken by the five elders. They only concern how Luo Lei was resurrected and how to deal with it. Luo Lei after his resurrection. What should I do now? Luo Lei's inexplicable resurrection will surely disrupt our deployment and plans. 5. After a while, the five elders looked at each other, and they could see the anger and horror in their eyes. After being in charge of the world government for so many years, they once again encountered such an extremely difficult matter. It seems that the last time was also because of the ancestor Luo Lei, right? Now it's because of him. How is this possible? Kong saw his fists clenched inadvertently, his body trembled slightly, especially when he thought of the scene of Sengoku being killed. Somehow, he actually felt a kind of sadness. Is it sad for Sengoku? No, he thought of the original battle of the Valley of the Gods, and felt inexplicable fear. Besides, that man was resurrected, doesn't that mean that those who participated in the siege of him at the beginning will be in danger? Maybe Sengoku is the lesson. If Luo Lei really wants to take revenge against our world government, we five elders are ready to take action. Suddenly, the bearded five elders gritted their teeth and said extremely coldly, for so many years, our five elders have never shot, it's time for Luo Lei to see our power. AJ. Agree. The five of us start, even if we can't win, we shouldn't lose, not confident. Marine, CPO, plus our five elders, won't necessarily lose. The other five elders hesitated for a while, and nodded in order. Luo Lei was very strong and pervert. They all knew it, but, they themselves were not weak. Can bite the bullet. Yeah, I really didn't expect him to be resurrected. But, just when the five elders had prepared for the worst. Along with a spatial fluctuation. Seeing that I am with red pupils, wearing a crown with 4 towering spikes, and wearing a black cloak appeared in the conference room, watching the screen on the screen that had stopped, he made a surprised voice. Stupid. I am not even thinking. A man who has been dead for more than 40 years has come back to life. To kill Marine's T-Dolphin and Sengoku in such a grand manner, and destroy Marineford, is this a preparation to show a sword to Marine and the world government? How did it come back to life? I am suddenly curious about Luo Lei again. In fact, she was very interested in Luo Lei more than 40 years ago, especially the incomparably powerful armed Buddha, which opened her eyes. Strong. If she can master this method of resurrection, would not it be? Thinking of this, Yimu, who has always been heartbroken, and the sky is still calm, began to fluctuate violently in his heart, and wisps of light flashed in his red eyes. Lord I am. Faced with the sudden appearance of Yimu, the five elders were stunned for a moment, and then without any hesitation, they simply knelt on the ground neatly. This is Kong, who was still in a state of horror, widened his eyes, and a huge wave was set off in his heart. His guess was correct. It turned out that above the five elders, there was really a super boss behind the scenes. Sabo was ordered to kill by the world government, probably because he saw something he shouldn't see in Panguchung. Boom. After thinking about everything, Kong knelt on the ground without hesitation, and respectfully kowtowed 3 times to Yimu. This is the boss of the five elders, there is absolutely nothing wrong with licking a little. Lord Yimu, this Luo Lei is resurrected. Looking at the coming I am. One of the blonde-haired five elders took a deep breath, plucked up his courage, and cautiously confessed, when Kaido of the Beasts was defeated by Straw Hat Luffy, he once said that Jin would go to West Blue to revive Luo Lei. It seems to be true now. After saying this, the blonde-haired five elders also speculated. It may be that Kaido of the Beasts' master has the method of resurrecting the dead, so Luo Lei can be resurrected. Don't you have a brain? How could Kaido be the master's method of resurrecting the dead? Yi Mu's red pupils with circles of ripples flashed a look of seeing through everything, and said, it should be the backhand left by that Luo Lei. I thought it was wrong at first, but now it seems that I was careless. Already. Quote. Denied by I am Sama. A few strands of cold sweat appeared on the forehead of the blonde-haired five elders, and he didn't dare not to speak. Lord what should we do now? Seeing the blonde-haired five elders deflated, the highest status five elders hesitated before asking. Luo Lei is an uncertain factor that is out of control, and we can't tolerate such an awesome existence in the sea. Ha ha, advertisement. Indifferently made a disdainful voice, and said, except for an ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, and a Straw Hat Luffy, they are all uncertain factors. So, you and Marine are ready to fight, the sea is going to be turbulent again, just don't know how many years of history will be left blank this time. Certainly, I am not saying a word. That is, she will not act rashly until Luo Lei's specific strength after the resurrection is clear. Simply put, if you don't make a move, you're done, if you make a move, you will kill. Do not. This time she is looking for a chance to capture Luo Lei alive. As for the method of resurrection from the dead, she is very envious. She must have the master in her hands, and it is best to include the wood-style secret technique in her pocket. There was no way back then, but now that you are resurrected and delivered to your door, don't blame me. The Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral was killed, the Sengoku Inspector General was killed, and Marineford was destroyed, should these news be spread? The highest-ranking five elders asked in a low voice. Stop all these news for me, and they will spread out after a while. A stern gleam flashed in Yimu's red pupils, and he commanded indifferently. Luo Lei wants to show a sword to us Marine and the world government, then we will suffer from this dumb and ignore him for the time being. I want to see what he wants to do. Having said that, Yimu added. Luo Lei's resurrection has disrupted many of my deployments, you must be prepared. Once Luo Lei dares to do something that breaks our limit, you can call CPO, Marine's high-end combat power, attacked collectively. Of course, there is some pressure from our world government, but the pressure on the pirates will be even greater, especially the Straw Hat Luffy, the Cross Guild, Blackbeard, and the redhead Shanks. The Great Ocean Ancestor vs Joey Boy, I have some expectations when I think about it. Laugh. The voice did not fall. With a burst of space fluctuations, vanished into the office of the five elders. Call. After Yimu left, the five elders and Kong breathed a sigh of relief, and Kong couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat from his forehead. Too much pressure. Facing the invisible pressure from he couldn't breathe at all. It is worthy of being the hidden boss of the world government, so that Kong's heart is more energetic and driven. $77. We have to prepare for battle. What happened to Marine must be suppressed with all-out efforts, and tell the major newspapers in the sea that if they dare to make a mess this time, they will be blocked by the world government in all aspects, and Marine will also list the newspapers that do not obey. Quote. Soon. Under the instructions of the five elders. The news that Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral T. Dolphin was killed, Sengoku Inspector General was killed, and Marineford was destroyed did not make any waves in the sea, and the major newspapers also received bans and did not report indiscriminately. What? Over at Naval Headquarters. After hearing the order of the world government five elders, Marshal Sakazuki took the lead to breathe a sigh of relief. As for Marine heroes, Garp and Staff Crane, although they hate Luo Lei to the bottom of their hearts and want to avenge Sengoku immediately, but it is related to the overall situation of Marine and world government, as well as the resurrected ancestors of the sea, they are silent. Zhao Li Zhao recognized the practice of the world government. Of course, in the dark, the CPO and Marine's high-end combat power, as well as the five elders, have entered a state of combat readiness. At the same time, the first half of the Grand Line, on a commercial island. Central region, on the top floor of a high-end hotel, in a luxuriously decorated room. Lord Luo Lei, are you really resurrected? I saw an albatross wearing a black top hat looking at Luo Lei, who was reading the newspaper in a leisurely manner, his eyes filled with wisps of excitement. Luo Lei nodded and said, 40 years have passed, but I didn't expect you to become the president of the World Economic News Agency. Upon hearing this, Morgan said incoherently, if it wasn't for Lord Luo Lei back then, I wouldn't be where I am today. All right. 40 years ago, Morgans knew Luo Lei. More precisely, Luo Lei rescued him at will in a tsunami, that is, from that time on, Morgans became one of Luo Lei's younger brothers, and under Luo Lei's instruction, began to enter the journalism industry. Bird fruit and devil fruit in the form of an albatross was bestowed by Luo Lei for big news, originally to facilitate the dissemination of news and newspapers. Did not expect. Morgans couldn't fly at all after eating the devil fruit in the form of an albatross. Big news, are you actually your own? Jin stared at the scene in front of him dumbfounded, and realized that his head was not enough. Originally, he thought that Lord Luo Lei would go to New World, that is. Unexpectedly, Mr. Luo Lei just left a message on the branch of the news of the world on this commercial island. One of the emperors of the underground world, the president of the World Economic News Agency, Big News Morgans actually came from the New World in person, and his eyes were full of tears. Chapter 54 Exposure. The ancestors shocked the sea. In particular, Morgans looked at Lord Luo Lei with exactly the same eyes as Lord Kaido when he talked about Lord Luo Lei, almost crazy worship and love, just like a mad believer. Maybe this is Lord Luo Lei's unique personality charm. Jin seemed to have thought of something, and a relieved expression appeared on the cheeks of the mask. Morgans and Kaido madly adore Lord Luo Lei. Why isn't he? Especially after Lord Luo Lei destroyed Marineford and killed Sengoku, the invisible sense of admiration had already convinced Jin, and he had invisibly lost his heart to Lord Luo Lei. Even if it is to sacrifice one's own body, he would too. That's right, I've always been Lord Luo Lei's person. Hearing this sentence, Morgan said with a sense of tone, when I learned that Lord Luo Lei had fallen on the island of God, I felt like my sky was about to collapse. Fortunately, at a critical moment, I thought of my commitment to Lord Luo Lei, to build a news organization that spreads across the sea, and then I got back on my feet. 35. When it comes to this, Morgan's tone was obviously a little crazy. Now that the World Economic News Agency has spread all over the sea, I have fulfilled my original promise to Lord Luo Lei. Thanks for your hard work. Luo Lei put down the newspaper in his hand and said with a chuckle, I just wanted to find something for you to do, but I didn't expect that you have built a World Economic News Agency all over the sea. It's not hard work. Compared to what happened to Luo Lei, the hardships I've endured over the years are just pediatrics. Morgan's eyes flashed a cold look, and said, I never thought that the world government would be so despicable and shameless, and set up an ambush on the island of God Valley, letting the 13 warlords at the top of the sea at that time be so despicable and shameless. Forced to besiege Lord Luo Lei. All right, this intelligence information was collected by Morgans through the channels of the World Economic News Agency. In normal times, because of Marine and the world government, he didn't dare to say anything, and he didn't dare to report anything in the newspapers, but now facing Master Luo Lei, he can finally vent his dissatisfaction and grievances. Ha ha. The corners of Luo Lei's mouth twitched slightly, and he said disdainfully, do you think that Rox, Roger and others can join forces to pose a threat to me? 35. Lord Luo Lei, what do you mean? Morgans thought about it for a while, then showed a look of uncertainty, and said subconsciously, could it be that there are still secrets in the Battle of Shengu? No wonder the world government wants to erase the -760 years of history. Tell you the truth. 99. Luo Lei's eyes flashed with a hint of abuse, and he said lightly, during the Battle of Shengu, I could suppress Roger, Rox, Sengoku, Garp and others by myself, but I underestimated the importance of the world government. The determination to kill me, I am, the final boss of world government, used a whole card to kill me. The final boss of world government I am. The voice did not fall. Both Morgans and Jin showed puzzled expressions. Obviously, Luo Lei's words touched their blind spots of knowledge. Isn't the boss of world government the famous five elders? What's going on with I am now? Quote. Does the world government still have secrets? This is a big news that shakes the world. If these reports were published, I'm afraid that the entire sea would not be shaken violently, setting off turbulent waves. 99. 95. A few seconds later, before Jin could react, Morgans reacted. With a keen sense of news, he suddenly noticed the super big news that moved the sea. Certainly, in the past, even if he knew about it, he would be cautious and dare not report the secrets of the sea. After all, this has touched the bottom line of world government and marine, as well as some of the big pirates who participated in the siege of Lord Luo Lei at the beginning. Once it is reported, world news will probably be wiped out overnight. But, now, Lord Luo Lei is resurrected. With Lord Luo Lei as his backing, he is afraid of a hammer. Lord Luo Lei, can you report these news? Thinking like this, Morgans did not make his own decisions, but said cautiously, once the one-year blank history and the Battle of Kamiya Island are exposed, the sea will definitely riot, and you will become the sea too, Lord Luo Lei. Focus. 5. You have one less thing to say. 35. Luo Lei took a sip of hot tea from the teacup, and said in a meaningful way, your news of the world will also become a thorn in the eyes of Marine and the world government, a thorn in the flesh. Advertisement. Ha ha ha. With Lord Luo Lei here, I won't be afraid. Morgan straightened his bird's chest, laughed loudly, and said without fear, I didn't dare to stand in line before, because I wanted to be vulgar, and now I will publicly declare that the news of the world is owned by Lord Luo Lei BJDG newspapers. Luo Lei shrugged indifferently and said, you can report on the history of a blank year and the Battle of Kamiya Island. 99. Great. Morgans patted his wings excitedly, and there was a flash of determination in his eyes. He would not live up to Lord Luo Lei's expectations. Correct. The next moment, Luo Lei seemed to have thought of something, and said curiously, recently, something big has happened in Marine, don't you know about the news of the world? I know a little bit, but, it's less clear what exactly happened. Morgans thought about it for a while, and then said with some puzzlement, according to the information collected by our News of the World, Marine's Vice Admiral T. Dolphin seems to have died, and the original naval headquarters Marineford also had a major incident, but what it is, I don't know. In addition, Marine and the world government have issued a gag order to the major news agencies, so I don't take what happened in Marineford to my heart. As expected, the world government, which has ruled the sea for more than 800 years, still has a few brushes. Hearing this sentence, Jin showed an unhappy look, and scolded. No wonder such a big thing happened in Marineford, but there was no movement in the sea. It turned out that the news was blocked. What? Wouldn't it be Morgans? Bird Face showed a surprised expression. He glanced at Jin, then looked at Lord Luo Lei, and asked tentatively, Master Luo Lei, you're not doing things in Marineford, are you? Jin, tell Morgans. Luo Lei chuckled and shook his head, then stopped talking. In the face of his bright sword, the Dog Day World Government and Marine actually chose to hold back and block the news. No wonder there was no major reaction from the sea. Such a pity. You are so calculating. Never thought of the big news. Morgans is my man. A dark child that was laid out more than 40 years ago can now play the role of turning corruption into magic. You blocked the news, and now Laozi is going to reveal it thoroughly, so that the entire ocean will know that the ancestors of the ocean will come to the ocean again, and the history of a blank year will be announced, which will give the world government a slap in the face. There is also Yimu, who likes to hide in the dark, so you can wait for me, and you will be finished if you watch my crescent moon rise into the sky. Don't you want to hide your identity? Then I will also publish your true identity, so that you can enjoy the feeling of being in the limelight. This time, let the sea completely riot. Morgans, to tell you the truth, Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral and Backup Admiral T. Dolphin was killed by Lord Luo Lei when he was chasing me. Almost without hesitation, Jin said. What happened in Marineford was also done by Lord Luo Lei. The reason why the world government wanted to suppress the news is because Lord Luo Lei was resurrected, the Sengoku Inspector General died, and Marineford was destroyed. Take it, this is a recorded image. While talking, Jin also took out a phone bug from his arms and threw it to Morgans. Originally, he wanted to quietly record Mr. Luo Lei's style of doing what he wanted to do, so that he could look at it in his spare time, and pass it on as a family heirloom. Now Morgans just needs it, let him look at it first. Morgans took over the phone bug, and under the shock of his heart, there was a buzzing sound in his mind. Also know that, why did the world government and Marine give a gag order to the major news agencies? It turned out that the boss Luo Lei made a big hit after the resurrection of Kamui, first killed the T-Dolphin, then destroyed Marineford, and by the way took out Marine's former marshal, Sengoku. For a time, the well-informed Morgans was shocked. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was that Mr. Luo Lei really didn't change. Even after more than 40 years, he still did things so unscrupulously. Just after resurrection, he took Marine to operate. What surprised Morgans even more was that the world government actually endured and suffered such a dumb loss. Now the news is blocked, obviously not wanting to resurrect Lord Luo Lei, as well as the news that T-Dolphin, Sengoku was killed by Lord Luo Lei, and Marineford was destroyed. If the news of the world spread the news, it would definitely explode in an instant. Call. Morgans took a deep breath, and just as his excited and trembling heart subsided, he said with a frenzied expression, Lord Luo Lei. I want to report all these secret news, can you see? Can. Advertisement. Luo Lei nodded without hesitation, and said, I hope the whole sea will boil, understand? Got it, got it. A ray of light flashed across Morgan's eyes, and he hurriedly said, Lord Luo Lei, don't worry, this time I will make the whole sea shake violently and slap the world government and Marine hard in the face. It is good. There was a hint of coldness in Luo Lei's eyes. Have nothing to say. What he wants is such an effect. Your world government has blocked the news. I'm sorry, but I want to announce everything. Correct. Luo Lei thought about it for a while, and then said meaningfully, you can let it go, as long as Marine and the world government dare to touch your news of the world, I will directly destroy Mariejois. 39. Abaj. Lord Luo Lei, are you serious? Morgans was moved to tears. With Lord Luo Lei's words, he would be more sure of exposure, and he didn't have to worry about revenge from Marine and the world government. As for Marine and the world government, will they believe it? It should be. After all, the behavior of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, has been seen by Marine and the world government more than 40 years ago. Now, until there is no absolute certainty, I absolutely dare not act rashly. The next thing is very simple. With Luo Lei as his backer, Morgans instantly gained confidence, and he ignored the warnings and gag orders from the world government and Marine, and let the news of the world work overtime all night to send out a message to the whole sea. Newspapers. Shock. The history of a blank year is completely exposed. The latest reveal of the Battle of the Valley of the Gods, Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, fought alone against the 13 top combat powers of the sea at that time. Close double angle bracket. Shameless. World government, in order to strangle the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei, the immediate boss of the 5 elders, the master behind the world government and the master of the void throne, Yimu, attacked Luo Lei. Close double angle bracket. Incompetent. In order to cover up their incompetence, Marine and the world government deliberately erased Luo Lei's information and history, creating a blank year. Close double angle bracket. There are pictures and truths. The ancestor of the ninja world Luo Lei has been resurrected, killed Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral and Substitute Admiral T. Pig in West Blue, also went to Marineford, killed former Marshal Sengoku, destroyed Marineford. Close double angle bracket. Exclusive secret. Ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei, I want to get back everything I lost. Close double angle bracket. Opening parenthesis. When the news of the world released news after news to the sea. Originally because of the new four emperors, the sea caused by Emperor Yan Sabo instantly set off one after another monstrous waves, sweeping in all directions. Countless people looked at the newspapers of the world news in their hands and gasped in shock. A look of astonishment flickered on it. No way. It is really a piece of content in the newspaper that is really too explosive. The secret of the one-year blank history. Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea for more than 40 years, suppressed the top combat powers such as Rocks, Roger, Garp, etc. on the island of Kamiya alone, and was finally defeated by the behind-the-scenes boss of world government, Yi Yi. Mu attacked and defeated Luo Lei. What a terrible thing is this? What is even more shocking is that more than 40 years later, Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, was actually resurrected by the embers of the beast's pirates. After killing Marine's T-Dolphin, Sengoku, and destroying the former naval headquarters Marineford, the world government and Marine actually didn't say a word, and silently ate the bitter fruit. The ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei's resurrection, is this an earth-shaking rhythm? And after roughly scanning the newspaper, whether it is a sensible person or an ordinary person, they only pay attention to 2 points, that is, Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, who has been in the sea more than 40 years ago, and the other is I am from the world government. Now Luo Lei is resurrected. Does it mean that the confrontation between the world government and Luo Lei will begin again? There is also the 4 emperors of the new world, who will definitely feel great pressure, especially the Straw Hat Luffy, one of the 4 emperors. He defeated Kaido of the Beasts. Now the boss of Kaido of the Beasts is resurrected. Get up and fight. Wanokuni's Momonosuke may not be able to escape. Therefore, in this situation, the sea is completely insane. The eyes of countless people are on the resurrected ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei. Invisibly, Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, surpassed the 4 emperors, marines, the revolutionary army, and the world government, and became the focus of the entire sea. Chapter 55. Im's Wrath, planning to destroy a country with one move. Holy Land Mariejois. Inside a mighty hockey castle in the heart of the world government. Damn, what is this Morgan's trying to do? What are you kidding? The news of the world doesn't want to do it. The big thing is bad. Lord Yimu has been exposed, and the resurrection of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, has also been exposed. Now the whole sea is watching the joke of our world government. 55. Looking at the newspapers of the world news office in my hand. While the five elders looked shocked and angry, they were about to vomit blood with anger, and even more, they were already scolding, and they wished to get rid of this news of the world immediately. FK. Did you make a mistake? The world government and Marine just issued a gag order. A second later, the news of the world will blank a year of history, the truth of the Battle of Kamiya, the existence of Lord Yimu, the resurrected ancestor Luo Lei, and the news of the killing of Shigu, Sengoku, and the destruction of Marineford, exposed. This is undoubtedly a slap in the face of the 5 of them. What is even more infuriating is that newspaper headlines related to Luo Lei are shocking words such as terrible, shocking, incredible, etc. Those related to Marine and world government are shameless, incompetent, with pictures and truth. Discrimination is too shameless. Co-authored with an unscrupulous ancestor who can do whatever he wants, Luo Lei has become a bright and stalwart existence, and the world government and Marine have become the background boards. The celestial dragons' families in the Holy Land became angry when they heard the news. They pressured us to find a way to kill Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea. Master Yimu has been exposed, and now the whole sea knows that we are just puppets, and the real master is Yimu-sama. 99. How could Morgans from the news of the world be Luo Lei's man? Now we are caught off guard. There is also a problem with Marine. Following the exposure of the death of Shigu and Sengoku, the self-confidence of countless Marine soldiers has been severely damaged, and they have begun to be skeptical of the world government and Marine. We must find a way now, otherwise, Marine and the world government will become the target of ridicule. The five elders said each and every word, the expressions on their faces were already ugly and they wanted to cry. This was the 3rd time they encountered a very difficult question about Luo Lei. Just helpless. The snake hits 7 inches. This time Luo Lei once again showed his sword. It can be said that it hit the fate of Marine and world government. Certainly, they also want to kill the news of the world in the past. But, the news has spread all over the sea, and it will not help if it is destroyed. Advertisement. In addition, Luo Lei is the protective umbrella, and Morgans has also released ruthless words in the underground dark world. As long as Marine and the world government dare to do anything against it, the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei will go straight to Mariejois. Bet. 5 elders really dare not. With Luo Lei's unscrupulous, do what he says, if he really wants to destroy Mariejois desperately, I'm afraid even Lord Yim can't stop it. So, without absolute certainty, neither the world government nor the Marine will do anything to the news of the world. In a sense, someone should be sent to protect him, lest someone frame the blame on Marine and the world government, causing Luo Lei, a lunatic, to go to war with the world government desperately. Suffering. This multiple choice question is too difficult. The 5 elders felt like they couldn't figure it out and didn't know what to do. This round, I lost. In vain, an indifferent voice sounded. Immediately after, I am appeared in the office of 5 elders with the fluctuation of space. Like the five elders, I also has a feeling of being slapped in the face, especially with the exposure of the news of the world. She seems to be stripped naked and known to countless people across the sea. The layout of more than 800 years, the forbearance for more than 800 years, is now destroyed by Luo Lei. In fact, even himself does not know whether to cry or laugh. What frightened her even more was that she also didn't know how Luo Lei knew of her existence. That's it. Now that it has been exposed, then let the whole ocean see the true power of world government. Thinking of this, undisguised killing intent emerged from Im's red pupils. If you dare to read my jokes, then wait for punishment and destruction. For more than 800 years, she does not know how many countries she has destroyed, nor does she know how many countries she has destroyed. Mind blowing some more. Bang, 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 seeing that Sama suddenly appeared. Without any hesitation, the five elders, who were suffering from headaches, knelt on the ground in no particular order. Have nothing to say. The presence of Sama means there is a solution. ... Ask for flowers. Advertisement. You didn't even investigate the relationship between Morgans and Luo Lei, so you let the news of the world develop, and now you're paying for it. A trace of coldness flashed across Yimu's cheek covered by the black robe, and said, in normal times, you all look like you are in control of everything, but now you have been beaten 3 times in a row by one person, you really lose me. Face. This is the last chance, don't do it next time, otherwise you will be at your own risk. After all, some people want to be 5 elders, that Kong, it feels good. When it comes to this, was obviously already motivated to kill. Understood, Sama. We won't let you down again. This time it was our fault and there will never be a next time. 0. The voice did not fall. The five elders also seemed to be frightened, strands of cold sweat poured out of their foreheads, and they hurriedly slumped their heads, clinging to the ground, making a panicked sound. Joke. They knew how ruthless Lord Yimu, who had lived for more than 800 years, would not care about their status as 5 elders. After all, for more than 800 years, Lord Yim killed quite a few 5 elders. Quote. Snorted coldly, and said indifferently, I will do my best to monitor all the calls of the Revolutionary Army. Once I find Sabo's trace, I will make another move to destroy a country and crush everything. Yes, Lord Hearing that Sama was about to strike again. The five elders were taken aback for a moment, and they immediately knew the good intentions of Lord Yimu. Now the pressure of public opinion is all on Marine and the world government. As long as Lord Yimu can destroy a country with one move, the entire sea will remain silent and dare not say anything more. It can also attack the power of the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei. And Marine and some soldiers of the world government will be reinvigorated. It's like killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Laugh. After this sentence, left the office of the 5 elders. This time Luo Lei's behavior reminded her that the sea is not completely under her control. Vivian, Shirahoshi, Luffy, and now there is another Luo Lei. The sea is really getting more and more interesting. Chapter 56. Garp's Despair, King Luffy Must Die. New World. Marine G1 Headquarters. At this time, in the conference room on the highest level of the fortress. The atmosphere here is almost frozen to ultimate. Marine Marshal, Akainu, Marine 3 Admiral Kizaru, Fujitora, Green Bull, and Marines Hero, Garp, General Staff, Crane, Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral and Substitute Admiral Momosugi and others gathered together. No one said a word, their faces were very ugly. FK. Marine was backstabbed by the news of the world. The news one after another was like a knife inserted into Marine's heart, causing the hearts of the senior executives of Naval Headquarters to bleed with pain and anger. What is even more irritating is that with the support of the ancestors of the sea, Marine has not been able to take strong action against the news of the world. It's scary. Seeing that no one was talking, Kizaru cocked his mouth and said incredulously, Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea more than 40 years ago, has actually been resurrected. After being exposed by the news of the world, it has already caused the 760 sea riot. What more than a riot? A look of astonishment flashed across Aramaki's shady cheeks, and he said a little unhappily, the ancestors of the sea were exposed, and the real leader of our world government, Yimu, was also exposed. I really didn't expect that on top of the 5 elders there is a boss. The 5 elders hide from everyone, it's really hard for them. After Fujitora took a cup of tea and took a sip of tea, he also showed a disdainful expression and said solemnly, now that it has been exposed, I want to see how the 5 elders will respond. HMPH. The world government is hiding and pinching, and it doesn't treat us Marine as its own at all. Dark Horse snorted coldly and said, perhaps in that Im's eyes, none of us are his own people, we are all just tool people walking and serving her. If it hadn't been exposed, it might have continued to hide from us. When it comes to this, the tone of the Dark Horse is obviously a little rebellious, but, the conference room, no one cares. Garp rarely dozed off or snacked, but sighed with a tired face, adding, the deaths of Chigu and Sengoku caused an uproar in Marine, and Marineford was also destroyed if no effective action was taken. Marine's momentum will be greatly affected. After all, Sengoku is Marine's former marshal, like Marine's soul. Let's see what the world government will do now. Staff officer, he said with a gloomy face and a bit of anger. If the world government doesn't take effective action, we Marines will just lie down and do whatever we like. Quote. Staff Crane, don't be angry. Advertisement. But at this time, Marshal Akainu, who was sitting on the main seat, had a resolute expression and solemnly said, the world government has already confirmed the existence of IM, and said that IM is the trump card of the world government. It will never be revealed until the critical moment, and it is not intentional to hide it from everyone. This time Luo Lei used Morgan's World Economic News to expose these secret things, which caught everyone by surprise. So, Lord Yimu has decided to take action and show his true strength in front of the entire sea. 35. Although Akainu concealed the existence of IM from the world government, Akainu has deep resentment, but as Marine's marshal, he must focus on the overall situation and stabilize his mentality, otherwise Marine will collapse. It's kind of funny. Akainu thinks that he has a very short temper, hates evil, and pursues the concept of complete justice. But, after taking the position of marshal, his character began to change to the character of Sengoku when he was a marshal before, and Marine became his fetters unknowingly. What? I am going to shoot. As the world government coming for real. As the words of Marshal Akainu just fell, Kizaru, Fujitora, Green Bull, Garp, Staff Officer Crane, Momosugi and others were all stunned, as if they didn't expect that the five elders hadn't done anything yet, and Lord IM, who was only exposed, was about to do it. This is the rhythm that will make the sea unable to calm down. As I am going to do something to Luo Lei, I want to participate. The next moment, Garp's dark eyes glowed with a ray of light, and he said urgently, as long as I can avenge Sengoku, even if I die in battle, I will die without regrets. Me too. Staff officer, he clenched his fist and said something in a deep voice. It seems to be about to attack the revolutionary army. Glancing at Garp, who seemed to have aged more than 10 years after Sengoku's death, Akainu hesitated for a moment, but still had some reluctance to say. The Emperor Yan of the revolutionary army, Sabo, has long been included in the world government's must-kill list. This time, Lord Yimu will use Sabo to kill the chicken and warn the monkey. It's so scary. The voice did not fall. Others haven't responded yet. Kizaru stood up first, showing an extremely exaggerated expression, and said, this is it really unreasonable to play cards? He was wronged by Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, and he used the revolutionary army to open the knife. The owner of the dead is really picking soft persimmons. No way. Akainu smiled helplessly and said, the five elders mean that the world government will not take action until Luo Lei's specific strength after the resurrection is found out, and Lord Yimu will also use Luo Lei to go to the new world. Not finished. But, the people present understood in an instant. Advertisement. Garp was shocked, opened his mouth, wanted to say something, but couldn't say anything. His good grandson, Monkey D. Luffy awakened in Wanokuni Crazy Burst Seeds, and defeated Kaido of the Beasts ascended to the new four emperors. It's good now. Jin resurrects Kaido of the Beasts, big brother in West Blue. Needless to say, Monkey D. Luffy would be a deadly target. If there is a cause, there must be an effect. Luffy's retribution may be the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei. Now, Yimu may just want to use the hands of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, to eradicate some of the big pirates, including Luffy, who has long been a confidant of the world government. I'm tired, I'll go back to rest first. After a few seconds. Garp shook his head dejectedly, then stooped to his feet and left the conference room slowly. He is very clear. It is completely impossible for Marine and the world government to protect Luffy. In the past, because of his identity, Marine would turn a blind eye to Luffy. Now, he can do whatever he wants. The ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, won't give any face, plus Luffy's character, undoubtedly, it is needlepoint to maiming. Unless Luffy's Renren fruit, Eudemon's, Nika form explodes again. 3.6. Perhaps. That is playing this wishful thinking. Battle of Kamiya sneak attack. Still thinking about hiding behind the scenes and controlling everything. With Garp's departure, everyone in the conference room looked at each other and sat there with different expressions. Even Kizaru, who was standing, realized that his reaction was too big and sat down. Akainu shook his head, sighed, and didn't say much. The Straw Hat Luffy should have died a long time ago, and even more after becoming the four emperors. Marine doesn't do anything to save Garp's face, and he still has some scruples, but Luo Lei will have scruples. Will he give Garp face? The meeting continues. Then, let's discuss the issue of the Seraph's exposure and the round-the-clock monitoring of the Revolutionary Army phone bug. Chapter 57. The sea shakes, the Straw Hat Pirates scare silly. World government and Marine were shaken. And the whole sea. A new storm has begun to accumulate, quite like the tranquility before the storm, and many people who are depressed can't breathe. New World. The Cross Guild of one of the four Emperor's regiments. Recently, because of offering a bounty to Marine, the Cross Guild became famous, and the prestige of the leader, Buggy, has risen a lot, and it has a faint smell of becoming the head of the four emperors. After all, it's always been a Marine bounty for pirates. Now the Crusaders are doing the opposite, which can be said to have opened the eyes of many pirates and admired them so much that they are even more impressed by the leader of the Crusades, Buggy, and their inner admiration is like a surging river. At this time, inside a top meeting room of the Cross Union, if anyone is here, they will find that the famous four emperors Buggy, Mr. 1 Das Bonus, Mr. 3 Galdino and others are all standing on the sea, just like a penalty stand. The actual rulers of the Crusaders, Hawkeye Mohawk and Crocodile, were sitting there, looking at the newspapers in their hands with amazed expressions. Is this a joke? Crocodile drank a cigar and threw the newspaper in his hand on the table, but in the process of throwing it, his palm trembled slightly, which invisibly revealed that his heart was not as peaceful as it seemed. It never occurred to him. After the Crusades finally got into the right track, the news of the world will actually expose so many secrets that are enough to make the whole sea tremble. In the Battle of the Valley of the Gods, Luo Lei, the ancestor of the great pirate more than 40 years ago, was resurrected, the hidden boss of the world government and the ancestor of the great sea. Luo Lei killed the T-Dolphin, Sengoku, and destroyed Marineford. So far Crocodile has not responded. This ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, really does nothing if he doesn't make a move. When he makes a move, it will shake the sea. Hawkeye Mohawk suppressed the shock in his heart, picked up the red wine he had poured a long time ago, and took a sip. To put it bluntly, after forming the Cross Union, Hawkeye thought that he was enough to compete with Marine a little. Now it's good, out of thin air, a peerless fierce man who has been dead for more than 40 years, killed Marine's Vice Admiral T-Dolphin, Inspector General Sengoku, and destroyed the former naval headquarters Marineford. How terrible and rampant is this? The world government exposed and the ancestor of Dahai, Luo Lei, has also been resurrected. Why do I feel that Dahai is getting worse and worse? I do not know how long it has been. Crocodile exhaled a few puffs of white smoke, and said with a sigh, this is really entering the worst of times. 99. Yes. Hawkeye Mohawk also showed a rare expression of speechlessness and said, the Shichibukai system was abolished, we formed a cross union just for win-win cooperation, but we didn't expect such a big change. How about we dissolve the cross union and go back to our homes? Hearing the conversation between Crocodile and Hawkeye Mohawk, Buggy, who had never spoken, smiled and said a word carefully. During this time, Buggy, who became the four emperors, is still on pins and needles. Now that he has such a good opportunity, of course he has to try to escape the two demons Crocodile and Mohawk as soon as possible. To shut up, pity. Buggy was greeted by two unanimous scoldings. In this regard, Mr. 1 Das Bonus, Mr. 3 Galdino and others seem to have become accustomed to it, showing expressions of wanting to laugh but not daring to laugh, while our four emperors Buggy can only hold his head, not talking anymore. No way. After being dragged aboard the pirate ship by Crocodile and Hawkeye Mohawk, Buggy felt like the sky was about to fall. The real four emperors ruled the grand line, and the fake four emperors could only be scolded by others and dare not retaliate. By the way, the world government has actually researched Seraph based on our Shichibukai's abilities. I think this is the direct cause of the trash Shichibukai system. 99. The next moment, Crocodile picked up a newspaper, pointed to a picture on it, and said, this Marine's secret weapon, the Seraphim, with black wings, looks exactly the same as when I was a child. I don't even know where Vegapunk is. Research something. The world government must have also produced seraphs similar to mine. Not to mention, Mohawk's tone became a bit cold when he said that. He scolded. After using us, he kicked us back and secretly created a seraph with our abilities. The world government is really fighting. A good hand. Quote. Crocodile snorted coldly and said meaningfully, now the whole sea is waiting to see the jokes of Marine and world government. I want to see what world government and Marine are going to do. The exposed among will be how to do. Advertisement. You can only wait and see how things change for now. Hawkeye Mohawk nodded, turned his eyes, looked at Buggy, and said, next, it's your performance time. What was Buggy trying to say? However, he found that two cold killing intents had locked on him, so he could only wisely change the conversation and said with his head held high, no problem, I will develop the cross union well. New World. Pirate Island. Hive. Pirate Island is one of the islands occupied by the Blackbeard pirates. Because of the infinite indulgence of Blackbeard, it is called the paradise of pirates more and more. Central Region. On an open plaza, I saw Marshal D. Teach, Giza's Badgers, Shiryu, Van Oka, Abaro Pizarro, San Juan Bad Wolf, Catherine Diame, Poison Q and others gathered together. I really didn't think so. Morgans is actually a person from the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei. It seems that Luo Lei started the layout more than 40 years ago, and his scheming is too deep. Marine suffered an unprecedented blow this time, killing two high-end combat powers. It's really cool. Whether it's the exposed boss of world government or the resurrected ancestor of the sea Luo Lei, they don't seem to be fuel-efficient lamps. Should our Blackbeard pirates keep a low profile? I saw the officers of the Blackbeard pirates, you were discussing with each other, and the words were full of solemnity and inconceivability. It was really something that was exposed by the news of the world, which made even the officers of the Black Group have some courage. Trembling, scalp tingling, ha ha ha, the sea is getting more and more interesting. Ignoring these voices, Marshal D. Teach laughed arrogantly. The news exposed by the news of the world really opened my eyes, but I won't admit it. After all, I'm Blackbeard. Talking and talking. Marshal D. Teach also stretched out his arms fiercely, and when his mind moved, one arm was entangled by the energy of dark fruit, and the other arm was also entangled by wisps of shocking power. As the first dual fruit ability person in history, he will not be afraid of anyone. He will not be afraid of the hidden boss of the world government, Yimu, and the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, who has been dead for more than 40 years and resurrected. He will only become more and more excited and motivated. After all, after obtaining the power of shock fruit from Daddy Dead, he announced to the world that it was the era of Blackbeard. In the past, he had no choice but to live as a son to Whitebeard. Now that he has the strength, he just wants to realize his ideals and ambitions. After all, people's dreams will never end. It's time to get the sweet fruit of the Empress. Thinking of this, Blackbeard grinned, put away the strength of his arms, picked up the wine jar, took a sip of wine, and muttered to himself, the Shichibukai system has been abolished, now is the best chance, as long as it can get the sweet fruit, and I will become a lot stronger. Certainly. To deal with a little Empress, Boa Hancock. Blackbeard doesn't intend to bring too many people. The waters of the New World Blackbeard pirates still need people to guard. This time he will work quietly, taking advantage of the scorching situation of Marine and the world government, to get the sweet fruit. Ah. Ha 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 ha. Drink wine. Boss Blackbeard is right, we're not afraid of anything. 6. Seeing that Blackbeard is so full of confidence, Giza's Badgers, Shiryu, Van Oka, Abaro Pizarro, San Juan Bad Wolf and others were stunned and didn't think too much. Now, the world government and the ancestors of the sea are fighting against each other, what are they afraid of? Dog bites dog. Is the show over? As long as you don't mess with the Blackbeard pirates, everything is fine. The second half of the Grand Line. Another 4 emperors red-haired Shanks, looking at the latest newspapers in his hands with a look of horror and horror. What's the situation? The world government's Lord IM was exposed, and the ancestors of the Great Ocean more than 40 years ago were resurrected and directly killed Marines T-Dolphin and Sengoku. Of course, after seeing some secrets about the island of Kamiya, the red-haired Shanks finally knew why the huge Senju Guanyin in his mind kept appearing. He must have witnessed it when he was picked up in the island of Kamiya. That world-shattering battle touched his soul and left such a deep impression on him. This time, he didn't have to ask Pluton Rayleigh to know what happened. He can awaken the strongest conqueror's haki may also be related to the Battle of Kamiya Island. Just kidding, being shrouded in the conqueror's haki of so many top powerhouses, he must have been affected as a baby. The only thing that disappoints the redhead is that he was too young at that time, and he was not at all interested in the Battle of Kamiya Island. There is no impression, only the huge Senju Avalokitesfera that seems to have been carved into the soul. Advertisement. Hey, idiot boss, the sea is about to go berserk again. The world government also has a master Yimu, who has been dead for more than 40 years, and the ancestor of the sea is resurrected. Is this a rhythm that is going to be turned upside down? The strength of the old Sengoku is still there, but he was actually crushed. The strength of this ancestor of the sea after the resurrection is absolutely terrifying. Boss idiot, the situation in the sea doesn't feel right. At this time, the rest of the red hair pirates cadres also read the newspapers in their hands, almost all with shocked expressions on their faces. They are ready to compete for the big secret treasure. Good guy. The sea has changed greatly. Fortunately, my cooperation with the world government has not been exposed. After hearing these words, the red-haired Shanks didn't say anything, just shook his head helplessly, and he was still relieved. If this is exposed, he red-haired Shanks really can't argue. Boss idiot, the Straw Hat Pirates may suffer. Suddenly, a look of anxiety flashed across Lackey Lu's fat cheeks, and said, should we go to the Straw Hat Pirates, Jin will resurrect Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, and he must return to Wanokuni. The Straw Hat Pirates should have left Wanokuni. Bendick Snake looked a little solemn, and said slowly, I don't know where I have gone now, but they should also see the news in the newspaper. Sorry. 39. Benk Punch rubbed his head, now I just hope that the Straw Hat Pirates will take care of themselves and do what they can. Ha ha ha, you don't have to worry. Shanks thought for a moment, then suddenly laughed, and said, the current Luffy, but the 4 emperors. It's not the child who didn't grow up, he knows what to do. Quote. Boss Shanks, you're still laughing, don't you know how serious it is? If Momonosuke of Wanokuni is funny, he should escape Wanokuni as soon as possible, otherwise. 77. The red-haired Shanks took a big sip from the wine jar and waved. Everyone has their own way to go, the resurrection of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, is not necessarily a bad thing. You idiot 760 boss, that's not what you said when you used Conqueror's Haki to knock the green bull out of Wanokuni. Ha ha ha, yes, I forgot. Shanks rubbed his head with a smile. Why? Looking at Shanks, the red-haired pretending to be calm, Beckman took a cigarette and shook his head helplessly, with a helpless and deep light in his eyes. The sea is about to change again, and Luffy, who has awakened rubber fruit to the form of Renren fruit, phantom species, and Nika, will face a peerless enemy again. At the same time, pretty much what red hair pirates expected. After leaving Wanokuni, the Straw Hat Pirates received a lot of information at once. For example, Sabo assassinated Cobra and Vivian disappeared in the Holy Land. The pirates of the Straw Hat Pirates thought it was fake and were very sad. Among them, Luffy firmly did not believe it, and Robin also thought so. Because the enemy of the Revolutionary Army is the nobles of the world, not the kings of all countries. In this situation, Luffy didn't care about it anymore, so he planned to change the course to Alabasta, but Zoro said that Cobra was dead and Vivi had disappeared in the holy place Mariejois, so Luffy proposed to go to Mariejois. Luffy, are you an idiot? Or do you want to go to war with the world government and Marine? Zoro roared out of anger when he heard that Luffy was going to Mariejois. Zoro, are you scared? Luffy said eagerly, I'm going no matter what, it's about Sabo, Vivi, I can't just sit back and watch. With our current strength, really can't do it. Zoro said helplessly. The world government and Marine are not easy to mess with, and if you go there rashly, you will only throw yourself in the trap. Quote. Luffy pointed to Zoro and said, I didn't think you were this kind of person. 35. Wait a minute, you should read a few more newspapers, arguing. Seeing that Luffy and Zoro were arguing, Nico Robin, who had never spoken, hesitated for a moment, took out a few newspapers, and said with a serious expression, there is another big thing happening in the sea these days, and Wanokuni may have an accident again. As he spoke, Robin's voice began to tremble. How is this possible? The Beast's pirates have all been defeated, and the Green Bull has run away, what else could happen? With Peach's strength, it should be possible to defend Wanokuni. Talking and talking, Luffy, Zoro and others who were arguing didn't believe it at all, so they took the newspaper and started to read it. After reading the contents of the newspaper clearly. In an instant, the faces of Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Nami and the others froze, only to feel the buzzing in their minds keep ringing, and finally they became blank. Chapter 58. Momonosuke's confidence, I am shot, Luo Lei who becomes stronger again. Horrified. Extremely shocking. Looking at the news one by one in the newspaper. The pirates of the Straw Hat Pirates were shocked except for shock. Even the nervous, positive and optimistic Straw Hat Luffy looked a little sluggish. The behind-the-scenes boss of world government I am, the ancestor of the sea who died for more than 40 years Luo Lei, and the truth of a blank year, Marine Seraph. No matter what message it is, it's enough to make the pirates of the Straw Hat Pirates tremble. That is not true, is it? Such a big thing happened in a blank year of history. In the Battle of the Valley of the Gods, the 13 top-level combat powers of the sea were actually suppressed by the ancestors of the sea. This dead and resurrected ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei is the boss of Kaido of the beasts, doesn't that mean Wanokuni will be in crisis again? After a while, accompanied by a trembling uproar. Sanji, Zoro, Nami, Jinbei, Chopper and others have been terrified and unable to help themselves, and the expressions on their faces have become more and more ugly. There is no way, the Straw Hat Pirates have gone all the way to the present, becoming the 4 Emperors level pirates. They have experienced all kinds of hardships and difficulties, but this is the first time they have encountered such a heart-wrenching thing. Tricky. Super tricky. At first, when I heard that Kaido of the Beasts asked Jin to go to West Blue to resurrect the Motherland, no one in the Straw Hat Pirates took it to heart. Well now, this native who has been dead for more than 40 years is resurrected, you don't have to think about it, the first to bear the brunt is Wanokuni and their Straw Hat Pirates. Robin, is it true? After a while, Zoro took a deep breath and said slowly, as the legendary ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei really so scary? Judging from the historical information I have collected, what was published in the newspaper should be true. Robin hesitated for a moment before suppressing the throbbing in his heart, and added seriously, this ancestor Luo Lei does things recklessly and will report any flaws. After his resurrection, he shot Marine for no reason. There's something big going on at the group booth. No way. With a cigarette in his mouth, Sanji said irritably, how can he be resurrected if he's dead? 35. I do not know either. Nico Robin shook his head slightly bitterly. In fact, when she was in Wanokuni, she vaguely felt that something was wrong. Now it seems that her feeling is true, the resurrection of the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, directly set off a stormy sea in the sea, making the whole sea enter a state of runaway. Come on, let's go back to Wanokuni and help Momoko and Yamato.
Sudden, just at this time, Luffy finally came back to his senses. There was no fear on his cheeks. Instead, he grinned and clenched his fists. He said, what are you afraid of? No matter who the opponent is, I will not admit defeat. Speaking of which, Luffy added with great longing, I not only want to find the legendary treasure and become the Pirate King, but also realize the ultimate dream of letting everyone in the world have a banquet. 35. Luffy, it's still possible to become the Pirate King, Usopp said speechlessly after hearing this. But, it would be a bit of a nonsense to have everyone in the world have a banquet together.
Ha ha ha, that's great, let's go back to Wanokuni. Frankie laughed in harmony. What are you thinking? Nami said viciously. Chopper, give Luffy a brain diagnosis to see if he is scared by the ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei. I'm not frightened, this is my ultimate dream. Luffy smiled and lay on the deck. All of a sudden, some scenes and images of his childhood came to his mind. Wait a minute, but, just at this time,
Nico Robin, who was about to say something, inadvertently glanced at the sea in front of him and said, "You look at the sea in front of you." 33. What? Nami turned his eyes, widened his eyes, and exclaimed, "This warm water nest is too huge. How many blocks of warm water have been pushed up?" 35. Is this a warm water nest? Looking at the waterspout that shot straight into the sky like an exploding head, Brook showed a surprised expression. It seems that someone is calling for help. Luffy's observation Haki seemed to hear something, and hurriedly stood up from the deck, pointed to the sea in front of him, and said, "It came from a warm water nest." "I heard it too." Sanji asked suspiciously, "Is someone trapped in a warm water nest?" "No, the warm water nest is too turbulent, and our pirate ship can't get close." "Let me do it." Yi Dao Ryu port bird. Swish. The next moment, without seeing how Zoro drew his sword, a white slashing wave several meters long burst out of the air, severing the incomparably huge warm water hole from the middle. Immediately after, a child appeared in the warm water nest. Jewelry. Bonnie, the king of the worst stomach in the worst era. However, when Bonnie was rescued, a huge shadow suddenly appeared under the sea. When the shadow got closer and closer to the sea, it was a huge mouth, even if the Sunny was in this huge mouth. In front of them, they are all very small. Foreseeable. Luffy and others can't go back to Wanokuni. Wanokuni. After the Straw Hat Pirates, Kid Pirates, and Heart Pirates all left. As the general of Wanokuni, Momonosuke confidently led the entire Wanokuni into the reconstruction stage. He firmly believed that he would be a good general of Wanokuni. Yamato, Kazuki Hiyori, and the retainers of the Kazuki family were also assisting Momoko. Help. Advertisement. However, the ideal is very rich, but the reality is very cruel. Not happy for a week, the news of the world, seemingly on purpose, sent a news bird directly to Wanokuni to drop a large number of newspapers. Boom. The whole Wanokuni boiled, when they learned that Luo Lei, the god of ninjas who had ruled Wanokuni more than 40 years ago, had been resurrected. The people of Wanokuni showed a look of horror and disbelief. What are you kidding? God of ninja. Luo Lei is resurrected. Doesn't that mean that General Wanokuni, Momonosuke, who has just been in power, can basically announce his abdication? Unconsciously or unintentionally, the most prominent place in the newspapers is that the Kazuki family stole the fruit of victory of Luo Lei, the god of ninja world. When Luo Lei returns to Wanokuni, it will be the end of the Kazuki family. In an instant, Wanokuni is divided into two factions. There are those who support Momonosuke, and those who support Luo Lei, the god of ninjas, which has caused Wanokuni to fall into chaos. Flower capital. Inside the palace in the central area. Similar to the atmosphere of naval headquarters, it is very depressing. Momosuke, Kazuki Sukiyaki, Kazuki Hiyori, Yamato, and the retainers of the Kazuki clan all gathered together, and no one spoke, which made the already depressing atmosphere even more heavy. After an unknown amount of time, Kazuki Sukiyaki sighed heavily and said, "Momonosuke, take the Kazuki clan and go. Never come back." "No, I will never leave." 35. After hearing this, although Momonosuke's body was already trembling with fear, he took a deep breath and said, "I can't let Wanokuni fall into the hands of others, this is my mission. Why bother?" Kazuki Sukiyaki shook his head and said, "The king of Wanokuni was originally the god of ninjas, Luo Lei. I was obsessed at first, now it's time to pay the price. No, since ancient times, Wanokuni belonged to our Kazuki family, and it's not easy for anyone to come here." Momonosuke gritted his teeth, clenched the imperial flag of the Straw Hat Pirates in his hand, and said without hesitation, "No matter what, I will not back down in the face of the enemy." Kazuki Sukiyaki was silent for a while, then showed a relieved expression, waved his hand, and said firmly, "Forget it, I respect your decision. We are waiting for Luo Lei, the god of ninjas, in Wanokuni together, and we must let him experience the strong faith and spirit of the Kazuki clan." "It is good." Momonosuke nodded firmly. He also wanted to know how powerful Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, was. And listening to the dialogue between Momonosuke and Sukiyaki, the expressions of Kazuki Hiyori, Yamato, and the vassals of the Kazuki family gradually became firmer. If Momonosuke didn't leave, they wouldn't leave either. Moreover, the Straw Hat Pirates should come back, plus the Elephant Master who hasn't done anything. Not necessarily without a fight. Among them, Yamato, the filial son, also showed a gratified smile. Luffy really did not see the wrong person. Momoko has completely grown into a man. At the same time, New World, Marine's G1 headquarters, inside a huge monitoring room. Yandy Sabo is in contact with the Kamabaka Kingdom. Seemingly sensing something, a Marine soldier said excitedly with a look on his face. "Where is the source?" Hearing this sentence, Akainu, who was still dozing off at first, was refreshed. "Marshal Sakazuki is still under surveillance." A wisp of cold sweat appeared on the Marine's forehead and said, "Sabo doesn't seem to be using a white phone bug that can interfere with the signal, and he will soon know where the source is." 5. Akainu stood up from the chair and stood there with his arms crossed. This time, he personally sat in town just to get first-hand information, and then pass it on to the world government, to see how Lord Yimu would do it, and to look at the big move that killed Luo Lei. 1 second. 10 seconds. 3 minutes. As time goes by, More than half an hour passed quickly. Marshal Sakazuki, I detected that Sabo is in the Lulusia kingdom, talking to the dragon of the revolutionary army. Finally, 3 hours later, a marine soldier made an excited voice. It is good. Akainu clapped his hands happily and took out the phone bug. At this time, Lulusia kingdom. Because of Sabo's arrival, the whole country fell into chaos. The revolutionary army incited the civilians to rebel, and finally trapped the king of Lulusia kingdom, King Sage and the Princess Komini in the palace. Damn, 99. The king of Lulusia kingdom, King Sage stood on the tower, looked at the fallen capital, and said through gritted teeth, when I contact naval headquarters, even these guys will be sentenced to the penalty of piercing. I'm going to do it myself. 35. Princess Komini added with murderous intent. Ha ha ha, you are still thinking about how to save your life. 39. From now on, the king of the West Asian kingdom will have no nobility and privileges. After hearing these words, advertisement. The people of the revolutionary army and the civilians who participated in the rebellion did not care, but laughed outrageously. However, no one knew that, following the conversation between Sabo and the dragon, who was far away in the ancient city of Pan, crossed out the kingdom of Lulusia from the map without hesitation. Affected by this, countless dark clouds appeared unknowingly in the sky above Lulusia kingdom, as if there were some gigantic creatures hidden in them. Boom. In the next instant, countless black thunderbolts began to diffuse out, and without any warning, countless dazzling white light beams cut through the dark clouds, sweeping the entire Lulusia kingdom like the anger of a god. Laugh. Many people don't say the screams, and they die without a burial without even figuring out what happened. In less than a minute, the kingdom of Lulusia was destroyed and completely wiped off the map. Half a day later, the final boss of the world government, destroyed the Lulusia kingdom occupied by the revolutionary army with a single move, and the news that Sabo's life and death were unknown, spread at a speed that could not be hidden from the ears. For a time, not only ordinary people, but even countless countries and major forces around the world are all shocked and horrified. No way, no one thought. Immediately after his shot, he was a king bomber, destroying a country from the air. Therefore, in this situation, the bad influence caused by Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, was swept away, and the power of the world government and marine reached a peak. However, the storm of the sea, it didn't affect Luo Lei at all. The first half of the Grand Line, on that commercial island. Central region, the top floor of an upscale hotel. Such an attack method should cost a lot of money, but I don't know how many trump cards this guy who has lived for more than 800 years has. Luo Lei casually put the newspaper in his hand on the table, showing a playful expression. Never mind. No matter how many trump cards has, he can't change the fate of being shot into the sky by the crescent moon. After all, my peak Motherlander template hasn't been fully integrated yet. Thinking of this, Luo Lei took out the seal scroll, chakra surging, slapped both hands. Puff. With a puff of smoke, 5 devil fruits appeared in front of Luo Lei, which was the trophy he had collected from Marineford, and could now be used. System, how many fusions can be unlocked by absorbing the energy of these 5 devil fruits? Ding. Host, you can unlock 5% fusion. Okay, exchange it. Ding. Congrats host, exchanged 5% experience. Zhao Wang's ding. Congratulations to host, the identity exposure shocked the whole sea, and the system specially rewarded 3% of the experience. Ding. I hope the host will continue to work hard, follow his heart, not be bound, and do whatever he wants. Have 8% experience all at once. Listening to the prompts coming out of my head. Luo Lei's expression was delighted. He really said whatever he said, wouldn't it make him stronger again? The next moment, a terrifying force poured into Luo Lei's body and began to transform Luo Lei's body again. Finally, after an hour, Luo Lei stood up in surprise. If there is no perception error, this time unlocking fusion, his ability seems to be doubled and stronger. System, I want to take a look at my latest attribute panel. Luo Lei suppressed his inner excitement and silently ordered. Ding. Host's property panel is being generated. Ding. The property panel is generated. Host. Luo Lei. Age. 18 years old. Chakra attributes. Fire, wind, thunder, earth, water, yin, yang. Abilities. First Hokage template of Senju Hashirama, peak state unlock 100% fusion, Marine 6 styles Grandmaster, Observation Haki, Advanced, Armament Haki, Advanced, Motherlander template, peak state unlock 60% fusion. Constitution. 46,630, 10 points for ordinary people. Spirit. 6,750. Strength. 66,000. One punch is about 63,990 tons. Speed. 2,150. Open black lens bracket 1940-2100 S close black lens bracket. Heat rays. 239500 approximately 241,000 degrees Celsius tail. The number of times to extract the template. 0. Chapter 59 Empress, you don't want to either, snap. Call. As expected, the values of physique, spirit, strength, speed, and thermal sight have nearly doubled. 55. I roughly glanced at my property panel. Luo Lei took a deep breath and clenched his fists uncontrollably. With his current speed, he matched his strength. Even without armament haki and conqueror's haki, he could burst out extremely terrifying power. Time to go to Wanokuni. I got used to my transformed body a little bit. Luo Lei thought for a while before muttering to himself. It seems that I still need to find an opportunity to get some devil fruit to unlock the template of the fusion of the peak Motherlanders, and strive to complete the fusion of the template as soon as possible, and then extract the next template. 5. Thinking of this, Luo Lei threw the shriveled devil fruit in the trash can. Boom. Sudden. At this moment, with the sound of a knock on the door, Morgans and Jin pushed the door one after the other and entered. Lord Luo Lei, immediately destroying the country from the sky is really terrifying. After entering the room, Morgans couldn't help but exclaimed, now the whole sea is shaking. What's more than a shock? Jin took a deep breath and said solemnly, the world government and marine are now imposing, and they have regained their former majesty and domineering. It doesn't matter. Hearing this sentence, Luo Lei shrugged and said meaningfully, Im's shot this time, on the surface, is very beautiful, but in fact has been completely exposed. I want to take a look. How many cards does she have? Understood. Morgans and Jin looked at each other and smiled, and instantly understood. Let's go. The next moment, Luo Lei was too lazy to continue this topic, and said, now that everything that should be exposed has been exposed, we should also go to work and set off for the second half of the Grand Line. Quote. When Jin was shocked, he showed an extremely excited expression, and he was screaming wildly in his heart, Lord Kaido, Quinn, the pirates of the beasts pirates, Lord Luo Lei came to save you. Momonosuke, the retainer of the Kazuki family, the Elephant Master, Straw Hat Pirates, Kid Pirates, Heart Pirates, you all have to pay the price in blood. This. Morgans hesitated for a moment, and then whispered, Lord Luo Lei, Gloriosa, the previous king on Nine Snake Island, left a message through a branch of the news of the world. Let me tell you that she will fulfill her promise back then. Let me you drop by to visit Nine Snake Island. 5. Gloriosa. Luo Lei thought for a moment, then showed a sudden realization, and said with a chuckle, then drop by the way to Nine Snake Island. All right. More than 40 years ago, when Gloriosa was the king of Nine Snakes. 769 Snake Island is often harassed by pirates and marine. Once Luo Lei happened to pass by, he randomly cast a tree-bound berth, destroying a large pirate group that was attacking Nine Snake Island. At this point, there are no pirates and marines to go wild on Nine Snake Island. At that time, Gloriosa, as the king of Nine Snake Island, was grateful to repay him, and said that he was the patron saint of Nine Snake Island. Luo Lei refused without even thinking about it. After all, for him at that time, the birth of a small tree world was just a trivial matter, and saving Nine Snake Island was a matter of course. But, Gloriosa insisted on repaying, and also said that the next king of Nine Snake Island would serve him. Luo Lei smiled but didn't take it to heart. The so-called repayment is false, and seeking his asylum is the truth. Right. I didn't expect that after so many years, Gloriosa still wants to fulfill his promise. Isn't it because the Shichibukai system is cancelled, and he wants to seek asylum? Just by the way, go to play girls. Okay, Lord Luo Lei. Jin nodded without thinking too much. Nine Snake Island is very close to here, and Mr. Luo Lei stopped by the way, it won't take much time. At the same time, Nine Snake Island. Because the island is located in the calm belt next to the Grand Line, and there are huge sea kings in the calm belt, ordinary ships cannot enter the waters around Daughter's Island. At this time, inside the palace on the island, Shiji, no matter what, you should give me a clear answer. I saw the short, wrinkled mother-in-law looked at a newspaper in her hand and said in a heavy tone, now the situation in the sea has been completely chaotic. Without the identity of Shichibukai, our Nine Snake Island situation is in jeopardy. Quote. The world government has a hidden boss. I am, Crocodile and Mahawk, and Buggy also co-founded the Cross. 35. When talking about this, the mother-in-law had a worried look on her face, and added, Marine sent people to put pressure on us again, and some big pirates are also eyeing us, if. Enough. It seemed that he was irritated. Boa Hancock raised his long legs, blinked his soul-sucking eyes, and said impatiently, the thing you said is absolutely impossible. After all, the concubine is a dignified empress. Having said that, Boa Hancock's tone was a little uncomfortable. Just yesterday, Grandma Za suddenly came to tell her that Grandma Za, who was the king at that time more than 40 years ago, had promised Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, that the next queen of the daughter country would serve Luo Lei, and she had repaid the protection. The grace of Nine Snake Island. Result, not a year. The ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei fell on the island of Shengu. Now, after being resurrected, why did the mother-in-law actually ask her, the current daughter of the country king, to serve Luo Lei? This almost made Hancock mad. As a natural beauty, she is judged as the world's #1 beauty by the world. Do you still need to post it? This is simply an insult to her beauty. Snake Princess. Luffy is not for you. The old face of my mother-in-law was a little helpless. She was holding a cane, and said earnestly, I didn't have a choice before, but now the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei is resurrected, he is the best choice. As long as you can serve Luo Lei well, Nine Snake Island will no longer have to worry about being harassed by marines and pirates. Through that era, why does my mother-in-law know the powerful oppression of the ancestors of the sea? You know, Rox, Roger, Garp, Sengoku, Kong and other famous top-level combat powers in that era were all defeated by Luo Lei. If it hadn't been overshadowed in the end, Luo Lei was a godlike existence in that era. Now that the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei has been resurrected, the first thought of the mother-in-law is to seize the opportunity and hold her thigh tightly. Then why didn't you serve Luo Lei in the first place? Advertisement. Hancock murmured, it's impossible for me to sacrifice myself now to help you fulfill my promise. Do you think I don't want to? Why did the mother-in-law show a helpless look? At first, she posted it backwards, but Luo Lei didn't like her at all. Hancock, who is now the world's #1 beauty, can definitely succeed. As for Luffy, the Straw Hat, even if he has become the 4 emperors, take it wherever it is cool. Needless to say, Ai's family has no interest in reposting anyway. Boa Hancock curled his lips in disapproval, showing a look of narcissism, and said, Aigia is so beautiful, even if you don't post it backwards, you can protect the stability of Nine Snake Island. Quote quote. Facing the narcissistic empress, the mother-in-law opened her mouth and wanted to scold, but said nothing. She is very clear. An extremely arrogant and narcissistic queen will not change her pervert so easily. Suffering. Why does my mother-in-law feel like she is shooting herself in the foot? If Hancock doesn't let go and Lord Luo Lei comes to Nine Snake Island again, wouldn't it be a complete bullshit? Okay, you go first. At this time, Boa Hancock stretched his waist, stood up very elegantly, and said, Aigia is hungry and has to go to dinner. Snake Princess. Enough. 35. Seeing the endless mother-in-law. Hancock's pretty face turned cold, and he wanted to throw Granny Za out. TFT. However, at this time, a panic-stricken female guard Ping ran into the palace and reported in a panic. The news of the world's boat has appeared near Jushi Island. It seems that the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, is here. What? Ancestors of the sea, Luo Lei is here. It won't be for our King's Majesty. 35, 66, 39. In the next instant, exclamations came from the palace. Obviously, Luo Lei, who was just now famous in the sea, came to Nine Snake Island, and then thought of the conversation between the mother-in-law and the empress, even if it was fools know what's going on. Why, Grandma, you. Hancock's expression changed suddenly, his delicate body trembled, and he pointed at his mother-in-law. That's right, I contacted the news of the world and asked him to tell Lord Luo Lei that I would fulfill my promise. There was a wisp of cold sweat on the forehead of my mother-in-law, but, after thinking about it for a while, she broke the jar and said, Hancock, you don't want Nine Snake Island to be destroyed because of you, right? Good, very good. Hancock's face darkened, and he was speechless. This mother-in-law, BJDG, actually beheaded first and then made a statement. With the character of Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea, if she did not fulfill her promise, the consequences would not be very serious. I want to see what Luo Lei can do to me. The next moment, Hancock clenched his silver teeth and walked towards the pier with his long legs. Follow up. The mother-in-law's eyes flashed for a moment, and she gestured to everyone in the palace, followed behind Hancock, and left the palace. At this moment, the port of Nine Snake Island. The ship of the news of the world has docked here. Many female warriors from Nine Snake Island on the island looked at the man standing on the deck, and their bodies trembled a few times inadvertently, so that no female warrior dared to raise a bow and arrow, for fear of annoying the man. No doubt, these days, the newspapers of the sea, the female warriors of Nine Snake Island have all read it, and they have also learned the horror of the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, so they don't dare to act rashly. Actually, if you look carefully, it can also be found that the bodies of many female warriors are trembling slightly. Get out of the way. Soon. With a proud voice. Hancock led a group of people from the back of the crowd and walked over in a mighty manner. Lord Luo Lei, please go ashore and rest. At this time, the mother-in-law seemed to have thought of something. She looked happy. She wanted to pass Hancock and go to Luo Lei to say hello. Who let you pass the Ai's house? Hancock, who was already in a bad mood, grabbed her mother-in-law violently and threw her out, hitting the ground not far away. Snake Princess. Seeing this scene, the guards and female warriors on the pier broke out in a cold sweat. In front of the ancestors of the sea, they were so nonsense, Lord Snake G really ran wild. You are Luo Lei. Hancock didn't care so much, and said proudly, Nine Snake Island does not welcome you, please come back. Hancock, don't go too far. Advertisement. Bold. 35. Before they finished speaking, Jin and Morgans couldn't bear it any longer, and each gave a scolding. No matter how excessive it is, Aigia will definitely be forgiven. Hancock showed a confident expression, his silver teeth clenched, because Aigia is so beautiful. Hancock then glanced at Luo Lei. However, to Hancock's disappointment, the eyes of Jin and Morgans, the albatross, have changed a bit, but Luo Lei's eyes have not changed from the beginning to the end, and there seems to be a faint red glow in the eyes. Verb. Move. How is this possible? Could it be that your own charm has no effect? Seeing Luo Lei's expressionless face, Hancock doubted his own charm for the first time. Even if you are obsessed with Aigia, you don't have to hide it. I'm very generous. Hancock smiled and put his hands in a gesture of love. He elegantly released a nihilistic pale pink heart-shaped light towards Luo Lei. Laugh. A slight explosion sounded, and the heart-shaped light hit Luo Lei's body, as if it had been rebounded, and disappeared instantly. Is this your ability? 99 Luo Lei's mouth was slightly raised, and he said indifferently, it doesn't feel good. 35. All right. With today's physical fitness and mental strength, the special abilities of the Empress do not play any role at all. When she encounters her body, she will be forcibly excluded by the body's self-protection. How could you? Seeing Luo Lei's body rebounding his ability, Hancock was speechless in surprise. Have you had enough? Luo Lei said lightly with a violent smile. Igia. Seeing that Luo Lei didn't respond, the arrogant Hancock wanted to say something, but found that Luo Lei had disappeared. How fast? Hancock was about to sense it with observation hockey, but found that it was too late. Snapped. A crisp voice sounded. A red palm print appeared on the Empress' left cheek. I was beaten. Feeling the pain on her cheek, Hancock was stunned. She never dreamed that this Luo Lei would ignore her beauty and hit her directly, playing cards that were completely unreasonable. Snapped. Another crisp voice sounded. Another red palm print appeared on Hancock's right cheek. How is it possible? Igia. Angry. Hancock is really angry. Being slapped twice in the face, she really couldn't bear it. Hancock, do you want to die? 99. Just when Hancock was about to start, Luo Lei appeared out of nowhere, suddenly appeared in front of her, grabbed her neck with his right hand and lifted her up. Hemp eggs. What are you wearing? Laozi is an ancestor of the sea who can do whatever he wants. Still pretending. Originally Luo Lei just dropped by the way to play on Nine Snake Island, but now he really has no reason to play. Cough. Cough. Feeling that her throat was being restrained, Hancock struggled constantly, but found that she couldn't break free at all. More importantly, she actually felt killing intent on Luo Lei, as if she was going to kill her. How is this possible? Could it be that this ancestor of the sea doesn't like women? Seeing this scene, the entire Nine Snake Island fell into absolute silence. What's the situation? Lord Hancock was actually ignored for his peerless beauty. First slapped twice, and then grabbed the neck. Does this mean that you want to destroy flowers? Or is the legendary ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei, not a man? Even Jin and Morgans have this question in their hearts. But, after a few seconds, you don't have this doubt. Because, in front of everyone's eyes, Luo Lei grabbed Hancock's neck, lifted her up, and walked into the cabin. Stop. No one dares. I can only watch with my eyes open. After 3 hours, Luo Lei happily walked out of a room in a cabin. Why? Hancock in the room couldn't help shivering. He recalled some scenes in his mind. 2 lines of clear tears flowed down his cheeks with bright red palm prints silently. That man. It's a super big pervert. Chapter 69 Snake Island is cool. Blackbeard, Marine, Rayleigh, 1 more tears and kneeling for subscription. You don't want 9 Snake Island to completely disappear into the sea, do you? Sudden. Luo Lei, who had already left the room, seemed to have thought of something, and said lightly. Quote. After hearing this, Hancock, who was still shedding tears, trembled, and looked at Luo Lei, his eyes full of fear and wonder. What's this? Is it a man? Still, a devil, pervert, lunatic, who not only ignored her beauty and wishes, beat her, slapped her, and now threatens her. What does this take her to be? A public toilet? For a time, poor and helpless Hancock hid again. Wow. The next moment, it seemed that he was no longer suppressing his inner feelings, and Hancock burst into tears. She has never been insulted like this before. Today, she has seen it all, and at the same time, she understands that the ancestors of the sea are such perverts who do things according to their own preferences and do whatever they want with their strength. Die dodge. Without even looking at the heartbroken Hancock crying, Luo Lei walked out of the room without looking back. This Hancock, at first glance, has never experienced a stick. No, it is a social beating. Luo Lei just wants to tell her that beauty and charm are really worthless in front of the real strong. Ding. Congrats to host. Congratulations to host. You can do whatever you want without being restrained, and the system will reward you with 2% experience. Ding. I hope the host will continue to work hard, follow his heart, be unscrupulous, and do whatever he wants. Next moment, when Luo Lei walked out of the room, the system's belated reminder sounded in my mind. Can it still be like this? Luo Lei paused and showed a surprised expression. He thought that only the energy of devil fruit could speed up the unlocking of the template of the peak Motherlander. The experience is really a pleasant surprise. Cool. Feeling his body getting stronger again, Luo Lei stretched and walked away without looking back. Originally, seeing Luo Lei paused for a while, Hancock still had some vague expectations in his heart. He thought that Luo Lei found out in conscience, but found out that it was completely wishful thinking. What can she expect from the ancestors of the sea who are like demons descended to earth? Just keep crying. At the same time, on the pier of Nine Snake Island. Seeing that the Empress Hancock was taken into the cabin by Luo Lei, the ancestor of the sea. Whether it was the guards and female warriors on the pier, or Morgans and Jin, they all breathed a sigh of relief, and both felt that they had made a fortune. The one in the front breathed a sigh of relief because the Empress's charm still played a great role at the critical moment, otherwise, they would all be afraid that the Empress would be mercilessly killed. The one in the back breathed a sigh of relief because Mrs. Luo Lei was indeed a real person. Men, with normal sexual orientation, do things as always without any hesitation. Ha ha ha, it worked, I fulfilled the promise I made 40 years ago. The grandmother got up from the ground in the distance, her old face was full of joy, and she danced with excitement. Really, Empress Hancock did not disappoint her. In another way, I got the interest of the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei. Why didn't she think of it at the beginning? I knew that the ancestors liked this kind of tune, so can I. However, Hancock succeeded, and it was not too late. As long as the news was announced, I believed that neither Marine nor the pirates would be blindsided. From now on, as long as the ancestor of the sea, Luo Lei is still there, the sky of Nine Snake Island will never collapse. Thinking of this, my mother-in-law seems to be 10 years younger. She didn't hug Luo Lei's thigh more than 40 years ago, and he regrets it so far. Now that she is hugging, it is definitely something worth celebrating. As for the arrogant and willful Empress, my mother-in-law believes that over time, she will understand everything she does. If you can't beat it, send yourself out, it's really fragrant, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. What's more, there is an intuition in the mother-in-law's heart, that is, the ancestors of the sea after this resurrection seem to be more unscrupulous and stronger. If this continues, they will definitely defeat the hidden boss of the world government, I am. What are you still doing? Ready to start. A few minutes later, Granny Za excitedly waved the crutches in her hand and said, from now on, our Nine Snake Island has the confidence to stand in the sea, and we no longer need to be afraid of pirates and marines. 99. Right, let's prepare a banquet soon. Such a historic moment, we have to celebrate it properly. After hearing this, the guards and female warriors on the pier were instantly agitated. Lord Hancock attracted the attention of Lord Luo Lei with his own unique method. They sacrificed themselves and achieved the heroic act of Nine Snake Island. They were full of emotion. Admire. It's time to celebrate the new life of Nine Snake Island. Have a drink. Looking at the Nine Snake Island where the banquet was held, Empress Jin came back to his senses and said with emotion, Lord Luo Lei is more and more perverted and domineering in doing things, it is so addicting. 99. Exactly. Morgan said seriously. If I also have the powerful power of Lord Luo Lei, I am afraid that I will be more pervert and violent than Lord Luo Lei. That's right. Jin thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. For example, if an ordinary person possesses superhuman strength, 99% of them will be unscrupulous, right? If he has the strength to do whatever he wants, if he is afraid of doing things, then there is a problem with his mind. Advertisement. Go and drink. It is good. Jin and Morgans looked at each other, and they could both see the smiles in their eyes, just like Granny Zara felt, only Lord Luo Lei was there, and they didn't panic at all. The ancestors of the CYYDS. Therefore, in this situation, when Luo Lei walked out of the cabin 3 hours later, he saw the Nine Snake Island where a banquet was being held. Many female warriors and guards began to drink happily, including Jin and Morgans. Lord Luo Lei. At this time, seeing Luo Lei coming out refreshed, the eyes of the grandmother who had been waiting on the deck lit up. She hurriedly took a few steps forward, and said cautiously, back then you gave the patron saint of Nine Snake Island, it hasn't appeared in over 20 years. It's okay. 35. When people are in good spirits at a happy event, Luo Lei said indifferently, that wooden dragon is just exhausted from chakra, I will give you 10 more Nine Snake Island. 10. The mother-in-law shuddered a little, and seemed to be a little unbelievable. More than 40 years ago, Lord Luo Lei left a huge wooden dragon with a long hook nose and thorns all over his body on Nine Snake Island. After Lord Luo Lei fell, he also blessed Nine Snake Island for more than 20 years. One is so cool. Now, Lord Luo Lei is going to send a dozen of Jushi Island at one time. The Queen. No, it's Nine Snake Island, isn't it cool at one time? Wood-style wood dragon technique. Wood-style wooden golem jutsu. Accompanied by a terrifying chatla wave, Luo Lei just patted his hands lightly. Without any sign, 5 wooden dragons circled out suddenly, hovering over the Nine Snake Island, and then, the 5 towering trees on the Nine Snake Island grew rapidly and turned into 5 supergiant wooden golems. Roar, roar. After wooden golem and wooden dragon appeared, everyone raised their heads to the sky and roared, and a majestic shock wave erupted, sweeping out in all directions, shaking the sea. Under this imposing shock wave, the clouds over the Nine Snake Island were shaken away, and there was a piercing cracking sound in the air. No doubt, this is Conqueror's Haki. All right, for today's sea. Conqueror's Haki is actually not that rare. But, this Conqueror's Haki burst out from 5 wooden dragons and wooden golem. In an instant, Nine Snake Island, which was still holding a banquet, fell into silence. Between heaven and earth, there is silence. Fortunately. This Conqueror's Haki came and went faster, and disappeared in less than 3 seconds. With a flick of their tails, the 5 wooden dragons circled in the sky for a few times, and then wrapped around a mountain on the Nine Snake Island, and the 5 wooden golems were even more straightforward, standing in place with their eyes closed. It seems to be the patron saint of Nine Snake Island. It's not like the Patronus hasn't appeared for more than 20 years, how come 10 have appeared all of a sudden? It must be Lord Luo Lei who has appeared. 99. After Wooden Golem and the Wooden Dragon fell into a dormant state, the eyes of the female warriors and guards of Nine Snake Island were full of shock and horror, and they even forgot to drink the wine, especially Hancock's two younger sisters. Even his eyes widened. Joke. It is rumored that the patron saint of Nine Snake Island reappeared, and Conqueror's hockey broke out. Is this too scary? Am I not mistaken? Quote. Morgans and Jin, who were drinking at each other, had unbelievable expressions on their faces. People were more angry than people. Wooden Golem and Wooden Dragon could erupt into Conqueror's hockey. Is there a mistake? Certainly. When I think of Lord Luo Lei, Jin and Morgans were relieved. If others can't do it, it doesn't mean that Luo Lei can't do it. The mother-in-law, who was standing in front of Luo Lei, was horrified and speechless. She opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but she found that she was so excited that she couldn't speak at all. Happiness really comes too suddenly. At this time, the mother-in-law only hated that she was not the empress, otherwise, it would definitely not be a problem to get 10 patron saints for Nine Snake Island. How is this possible? Can the patron saint of Nine Snake Island also be mass-produced? At this time, it wasn't just them, even Hancock, who was crying in the room, was stunned. She didn't see it, but observation hockey sensed it. Tears rain Pear Blossom's pretty face was full of shocking expressions. Immediately after, Hancock fell into a powerless silence. Advertisement. She knew very well that the devil-like man must have decided on her. How long would the 10 guardian angels of Nine Snake Island have to serve that devil? Ask for flowers. For a time, Hancock felt that his life was going dark. At the same time, a sea near the Sabayati archipelago. A pirate ship flying the flag of the Blackbeard pirates is heading towards the calm belt where Nine Snake Island is located at a very fast speed. Boss Blackbeard, in less than a day, we can reach Nine Snake Island. On the deck, Catherine Diame, who was wearing heavy makeup and fancy clothes, said with a smile, that Empress is regarded as the most beautiful woman in the world, by the world. I don't know if the Blackbeard boss won't be sympathetic to the Jade. Ha ha ha, Boss Blackbeard will definitely pity Shangshiyu. What a goddamn goddess, in front of our Blackbeard boss, it's just trash. This time, we will leave behind the armor that Nine Snake Island killed, and dedicate this Empress to Boss Blackbeard. After this sentence, the pirates of the Blackbeard pirates on the deck showed violent expressions one after another. What's more, the expression on their cheeks continued to be sullen. They had long heard that Nine Snake Island were all female warriors. Just in time to have some fun. Pity the fragrance and cherish the jade. 35. Blackbeard showed a cruel expression, picked up the wine jar and drank. A woman is just a stumbling block on his road to success. This time, he went to Nine Snake Island to obtain the sweet fruit of the Empress. As long as the goal can be achieved, all the people on board can be sacrificed. As soon as the sweet fruit is in hand, he is the first time the sea has the ability to have 3 fruits, and he will definitely shock the sea and make the major forces horrified and fearful. Quote. Why do you feel like you were facing the old Whitebeard dog at the top? 0. Sudden. An ominous foreboding faintly appeared in Blackbeard's heart. You know, since he announced to the world that this is the era of Blackbeard, this feeling has not been there, and now it is. It may be that I haven't rested for a while. 35. Not long after. Blackbeard smiled disapprovingly and didn't think much of it. These days, the ancestors of the sea were resurrected, and the boss of the world government, destroyed the country from the sky, which also shocked him. On the surface, he didn't take it seriously, but he felt Alexander in his heart, which was why he was so eager to get the sweet fruit. Sabayati Archipelago. Shouchi's ripping off bar. Alas, is the news accurate? 35. Pluton Rayleigh took a sip from the glass and sighed helplessly. Marine really sent Doberman to lead Marine to Nine Snake Island. Yes, the information is absolutely true. After listening to this sentence, Shaki said with a solemn expression, according to the information, Naval Headquarters originally wanted Kebi and Huo Shaoshan to lead the team, but due to the recent situation in the sea, Akainu personally appointed him to be promoted. Naval Headquarters shot for Admirals Doberman. 39. Doberman is a marine hawk and a direct descendant of Akainu. This time, Nine Snake Island is a bit difficult. Rayleigh shook his head and said with sigh, with the resurrection of the ancestor of the sea more than 40 years ago, the sea seems to have become a little unfamiliar. Who would have thought he'd come back to life? And there's the exposed IM. Shaki said with a bit of bitterness. Actually, until the news of the world exposed IM, I didn't know why the world government has ruled the sea for more than 800 years, and I also know why the blank 100-year history was erased. Right now I'm worried about Luffy. Rayleigh rubbed his head and said in a heavy tone, I expected to defeat Kaido of the beasts in Wanokuni awakening Renren Fruit U Demon's Nika form, but Luo Lei's resurrection, yes I didn't expect it. At this stage, Luffy can't beat Luo Lei, unless Joey Boy. It's not over yet. Bolu. The sound of a phone bug suddenly rang out from Shaki's body. After Shaki picked up the phone and connected, an urgent voice rang. No, we stumbled upon Blackbeard's pirate ship in a sea area near Sabayati Archipelago, heading towards Hydra Island. 5. What? Blackbeard is going to Nine Snake Island too? Boom. Perhaps too surprised, Shaki jerked up from his chair. Quote. Okay, you all evacuate temporarily, so as not to be discovered by Blackbeard. Understood. Bolu. With the sound of the phone bug hanging up, Shaki's face was very ugly, and he glanced at Rayleigh subconsciously. Let's go. 35. As an old friend for many years. Of course, Rayleigh knew what Shaki wanted to do, and got up without hesitation. Good. 35. Shaki clenched his fists and nodded coldly. As the last emperor of Amazon Lily, and the former captain of the Nine Snake Pirates, she still couldn't be ruthless after all.